The Senator, Honorable Karen Nyamu, will replace Senator Dr. Lelegwe Tumbesi on the Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources. However, you can see the Deputy Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Kathuri Murungi, already in the chambers. Allow me to hand you over to this live broadcast brought to you by PBU in partnership with KBC. Good afternoon.
Tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, twakusihi tutazame kwa neema nyingi na baraka sisi watumishi wako ambao umeridhika kutuita kwa nyadhifa za uongozi katika jamhuri hii yetu. Twakuomba utujalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amina. Clerk, confirm whether you have quorum. Sergeant at Arms, ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes.
Well, the prayer has been said and the chair taken. However, the House has not corrected. Currently is a quorum bell that is on for 10 minutes as directed by the Speaker. This is to alert the members to make their way into the chambers for the commencement of House business for this afternoon sitting. At least 15 members, as provided for in the standing orders of the House, should be present for the House to be deemed to have quorated and for the House to be able to commence its business. So that is what the House is waiting for it to be able to start its business. Once that quorum is achieved, then the members will go right into the business that is lined up to be transacted this afternoon. But as I had indicated earlier, is that a motion on the reconstitution of standing committees will be considered this afternoon. And this is notwithstanding the resolution of the Senate that was made on the 12th of February, the year 2025, on the approval of senators to serve in various standing committees of the Senate. The changes include in the Committee of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, the Honorable Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofaya will replace the Senator Honorable Alan Chesang. In the Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources, the Honorable Senator Karen Nyamu will replace Honorable Dr. Lelegwe Tumbesi. In National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity and Regional Integration, and this includes that the Honorable Senator Joseph Kamau Githuku will be replacing Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofaya. More changes are also on the Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations, and this notes that the Honorable Senator Dr. Lelegwe Ltumbesi will replace the Honorable Senator Karen Nyamu in that particular committee. So this is a motion that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 197. This is with regards to nomination of members of select committees, which says unless otherwise provided by any written law or these standing orders, the Senate Business Committee shall, in consultation with parliamentary parties, nominate senators who shall serve on a select committee. This is one of the standing orders that these changes or this reconstitution is taking place under. Also, Standing Order 199 on approval of nomination is that the Senate Business Committee shall, within 7 days of the nomination of senators to serve in select committees, present the list of nominees to the Senate for approval. Also, whenever a motion for approval of a list that is under that particular paragraph is moved in the Senate, no objection against the proposed members of a senator in a selection committee shall be permitted, and objections, if any, shall be formulated against the proposed membership as a whole. And paragraph 3 under that Standing Order 199, a senator shall not be a member of a select committee unless the Senate approves the nomination of such senator. The Standing Order 228 will allow me to hand you over. We'll listen in.
You have no mic.
Order number 1, administration of oath.
Next one.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Next.
Order number 3, messages.
Next one.
Order number 4, petitions.
Next one.
Order number 5, papers.
Leader of the majority party.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the Senate today, Wednesday, the 19th of February, 2025. These are the reports of the Auditor General of the financial statements of Nairobi City County for the year ended 30th June, 2024. County Executive of Nairobi City County, County Assembly of Nairobi City County, County Revenue Fund, Receiver of Revenue, Nairobi City County Alcoholic Drinks Control and Licensing Board, Nairobi City County Assembly and Car Loan and Mortgage Fund, Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company Limited, Mutuini Dagoretti Level 4 Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2022. Mutuini Dagoretti Level 4 Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2023. Mutuini Dagoretti Level 4 Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2024. Kayole 2 Level 4 Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2022. Kayole 2 Level 4 Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2023. Kayole 2 Level 4 for the year ended 30th June 2022. Pumwani Maternity Referral Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2022. Pumwani Maternity Referral Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2023. Pumwani Maternity Referral Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2023. Pumwani Maternity Referral Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2024. Mbagathi County Referral Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2022. Mbagathi County Referral Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2023. Mbagathi County Referral Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2024. Makadara Level 4 Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2022. Makadara Level 4 Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2023. Makadara Level 4 Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2024. Mama Lucy Kibaki Level 5 Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2022. Mama Lucy Kibaki Level 5 Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2023. Mama Lucy Kibaki Level 5 Hospital for the year ended 30th June 2024. Reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Makueni County for the year ended 30th June 2024. County Executive of Makueni, County Assembly of Makueni, County Revenue Fund, Receiver of Revenue, Makueni County Bursary Fund, Makueni County Emergency Fund, Makueni Empowerment Fund, Makueni County State and Public Officers Car Loan and Mortgage Fund, Wote Municipality County Government of Makueni, Makueni County Climate Change Fund, Makueni County Referral Hospital, Makindu Level 4 Hospital, Sultan Hamud Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, Matiliku Sub-County Hospital, Mukuyuni Sub-County Hospital, Mboni Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, Kisau Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, Tawa Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, Kibwezi Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, Kibwezi Makindu Water and Sanitation Company Limited, Wote Water and Sewerage Company Limited, Mboni Water and Sanitation Company Limited, Makueni County Sand Conservation and Utilization Authority, Makueni County Fruit Development and Marketing Authority. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay.
All the senators. We go to the next order, but senators, note that we are using a supplementary order paper. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Majority Leader, you have a notice to give.
Notice of motion. This is a reconstitution, a further reconstitution of the standing committees, that notwithstanding the resolution of the Senate made on the 12th of February 2025 on the approval of senators to serve in various standing committees of the Senate and pursuant to Standing Order 197, 199, and 228, and the fourth schedule to the standing orders, the Senate approves the following senators nominated by the Senate Business Committee to serve in the standing committees of the Senate as follows. A, Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofaya, CBS, to replace Senator Alan Chesang. Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources, Senator Karen Nyamu, to replace Senator Dr. Lelegwe Ltumbes. Senator Alan Chesang to replace Senator William Cheptumo. C, Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunities and Regional Integration, Senator Joseph Githuku, MP, to replace Mwenda Gataya Mofaya. D, Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations, Senator Lelegwe Ltumbes, to replace Senator Karen Nyamu.
Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Yes, we have statements under Standing Order 53-1. We start off with Senator Catherine Muma. I understand she has delegated that work to Senator Miraj.
Request for statement on the challenges in replacing and authenticating certificates by the Kenya National Examination Council, NEC. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education concerning the outdated resources sapping processes that applicants must endure whenever they seek to replace lost or destroyed academic certificates at the Kenya National Examination Council's NEC offices. In the statement, the committee should specifically, 1, explain the justification for the laborious and overly bureaucratic procedural hurdles employed by the Kenya National Examinations Council in their procedures for the replacement and authentication of academic certificates, including the requirement that applicants obtain confirmation letters from their former and hopefully still existent academic institutions to ascertain they sat their national examinations and they did so in that institution. Yet the NEC is the sole A, custodian of all national examination related data and principal archiver of those candidates' records, and B, issuer of all unique candidates' identification numbers for persons sitting their national examinations, and similarly, the sole issuer of all accredited documentation on every candidate's results, including the academic certificates. 2, explain why the NEC is not leveraging technology to operate an independent digitized mechanism that in real time verifies students' examinations related data, thus A, ensuring all candidates' records, including registration details and results, are digitized and stored on secure cloud-based platforms for real-time ease of access whenever NEC needs to verify any applicant's credentials. B, developing and introducing a centralized database that is accessible to...
I can see Senator Miraji is struggling to read our statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for protecting me. Developing and introducing a centralized database that is accessible to authorized personnel across different government institutions whenever verification may be needed. C, adopting biometric authentication based on biometric data collection during examination registration and during the acquisition of national identity cards. And D, issuance of digital certificates and developing a digital verification system that can be accessed, verified, and shared via secure online platforms by different institutions for real-time verification. And 3, establish clear guidelines for application in cases where schools no longer exist, yet applicants must produce confirmation letters as a requirement to avoid victimizing applicants due to circumstances beyond their control. Another statement, request for statement on health sector's response to the consequences of a halt in the United States funding for HIV and AIDS health program. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health regarding the contingency measures being contemplated to address the funding shortfalls resulting from the implementation of the United States Executive Order number 1416-9 dated 24th January 2025 on re-evaluating and realigning U.S. foreign aid, which is halted and supported by multiple U.S. government agencies to Kenya, including the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, PERFARE. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide a report on the amount of U.S. foreign aid received by Kenya for the financial year 2023-2024 and 2024-2025, highlighting the portion of that funding targeted towards the life-supporting antiretroviral treatment, ART, for persons living with HIV, PLHIVs, and other essential HIV services program, including testing, access to counseling services, and access to preventive commodities. Number 2, detail the funding shortfalls and suspension of operations anticipated from implementation of the said U.S. executive order and elaborate on how this affects the health sector's ability to sustainability fund that affected health programs, including PEPFAR funding support for A, HIV commodity needs for financial year 2024-2025, Country Operational Plan 24, COP24, that has contributed in excess of 28% of Kenya's total annual requirement for the procurement and distribution of HIV health products. B, engagement of over 41,000 essential healthcare staff who provide HIV services, including clinical services, community support, and program management across the 47 counties, from health facilities at level 2 to 4 projected for the period of 1st October 2024 to 30th September 2025, as well as the county governments currently having over 9,000 frontline staff supported by the US government grants annually. And C, system for HIV and health data infrastructure, including cash 8 million that supports data hosted at the National AIDS and STI Control Program, NASCOP, as well as maintaining the National Data Warehouse that includes data on early infant diagnosis, HIV testing, viral load dashboard, antiretroviral treatment, and mortality surveillance. 3, elaborate on whether the national government has determined how the funding shortfall will be bridged to maintain the continuity of these essential services over the short, medium, and long term. Number 4, highlight the National Treasury's response to this crisis, detailing whether and how they intend to factor in the crucially needed funding, particularly addressing whether they have revised the budget policy to incorporate the said fund. Third but not least, I request for a statement on the shortage of textbooks in primary and junior secondary school in the country. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the shortage of textbook in primary and junior secondary school in the country. Mr. Speaker, sir, there is a severe shortage of core textbooks in schools, which is significantly affecting learning nationwide. The shortage has particularly impacted subjects that were recently reorganized and consolidated, as well as new textbooks for grade 9, which were expected to be available at the beginning of the school term. In the statement, the committee should assess the extent of the textbook shortage across different grades and subjects, identifying the most affected classes and learning areas, and evaluate its impact on learners and schools, including disruptions to the implementations of the competency-based curriculum, CBC. Clarify, number 2, the committee should clarify the government's policy on textbook procurement, specifically whether the responsibility lies solely with parents or if there is a government distribution plan to ensure equitable access to learning material for all learners. 3, explain the role of the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, KICD, in approving and releasing new textbooks, including whether delays in the rationalization process contributed to the shortage. 4, provide an update on the commitments made by the Ministry of Education and KICD regarding the approval and distribution of textbook, ensuring transparency on the expected timelines for resolutions. And 5, outline the actions taken by the Ministry of Education to ensure that all learners have access to the required textbook, including clear timelines for their availability. For Senator Catherine Muma. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next statement by Senator Esther Okenyuri.
Request for a statement on claims of racism and discrimination in Taita Hills, Salt Lake Resort and Fairview Hotel. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism regarding reported cases of racism, discrimination and nepotism involving staff and service providers in the Taita Hills Safari Resort, Salt Lake Safari Lodge, Fairview Hotel, and Nyali Beach Resort. In the statement, the committee should, 1, state any measures the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife has taken to safeguard the staff and service providers against the reported cases of racism, discrimination, and nepotism at the Taita Hill Safari Resort, Salt Lake Safari Lodge, and Fairview Hotel and Nyali Beach Resort. 2, outline the terms of employment in the said hotels and state whether the Employment Act is adhered to in hiring and dismissing employees. 3, provide a comprehensive report of employees and vendors hired or fired within the last 1 year, giving the justification for the same. And finally, explain any steps being taken to ensure that discrimination, racism, and nepotism against clients, staff, and service providers is eliminated in all hotels in the country. Senator Esther Okenyuri, MP. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Senator Mudigi Alexander.
Request for statement on June 2024, fire tragedy at the Embu County Governor's Office. Mr. Speaker, sir, a rights person to standing order 53.1 to check a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense, and Foreign Relations regarding a fire tragedy that destroyed the Embu County Governor's Office during the June 2024 Generations Gen Z protest. This unfortunate incident severely disrupted county government operations and service delivery with damages estimated at approximately Kenya shillings 250 million. In the statement, the committee should 1, clarify whether the Ministry of Interior and National Administration has plans to allocate funds for the renovation of the affected offices and the replacement of crucial information, communication, and technology equipment. 2, indicate whether the ministry has conducted an assessment of the damages and established the necessary reconstruction measures. And 3, state whether whether emergency funds are available through the National Disaster Funds to facilitate immediate renovation works without further delay. Senator Mudigi, Embu County.
The statement by Senator Eddie Okech is deferred. Next is Senator Joe Newton.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations regarding the security situation in Kandara constituency in Murang'a County. Mr. Speaker, sir, there has been an alarming rise in insecurity in Murang'a County, characterized by the killing of young children and the unexplained disappearances of individuals without a trace. This situation has been exacerbated by the closure of 3 police stations, namely Kiriko Police Post, Kawendo Police Post, and Gakoi Police Post in Kandara constituency. In the statement, Mr. Speaker, the committee should 1, provide the reasons behind the closure of Kiriko Police Post, Kawendo Police Post, and Gakoi Police Post in Kandara constituency, Murang'a County. 2, explain why no officers have been deployed to Shoi Police Post despite its completion several years ago, and provide a timeline for the operationalization. And 3, outline the measures in place to enhance security in Kandara constituency and the wider Murang'a County, and explain the actions being taken by the police to bring to book those behind the wave of insecurity in this area. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next is Senator Mwaruma Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity I have 2 statements, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to seek your indulgence. so that I read them simultaneously. The first one is about Josa Black Spot along Matate Undani Road in Taita Taveta County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads and Transportation concerning dangers posed by a black spot at Josa along Matate Undani Road in Taita Taveta County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, state the number of road accidents that have happened along the Matate Undani Road at Josa, particularly at the section of the road commonly known as Corner S, and provide data on casualties and fatalities attributed to the said accidents from 2019 to date. And 2, apprise the Senate on the measures the government has taken to prevent the frequent accidents along this section of the road and indicate whether redesigning of the road has been considered. The second statement, Mr. Speaker, is on the funding for the construction of junior secondary school classrooms. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education concerning the rationale behind bills of quantities, formulation for the ongoing construction of junior secondary school, JSS, classrooms countrywide. In the statement, the committee should, 1, explain the rationale behind the decision to award a blanket figure for 1 million shillings for the construction of each classroom, and whether this decision considered transport and other related costs incurred during transportation of materials, including the availability of the said materials within the areas where the construction is taking place. 2, apprise the Senate on whether the government has any plans to adjust the amount payable to the contractors engaged in areas that face materials and logistical challenges to ensure contractors do not engage in substandard work as they try to safeguard their profits. And 3, provide a list of schools in the country, if any, that are yet to secure contractors for the construction of classrooms due to the cost implication that go beyond the 1 million shillings allocation. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There's 2 statements from the Senator for Kirinyaga County. Is he around, or has he assigned any of the members to lead on his behalf? Senator James Murango. Ketungati. Okay, please do.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I want to read these statements representing the Honorable James Kamau Murango, Senator from Kirinyaga, and it is such a pleasure to represent one of our own, Agitungati. Request for statement on the pending bills owed to contractors and suppliers by the county government of Kirinyaga. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget regarding the pending bills owed to the contractors and suppliers for goods delivered and services rendered to the county government of Kirinyaga. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a matter of great concern, considering that some of the contractors and suppliers have loans to service, and the continued non-payment of the pending bills starves businesses of the necessary capital to operate and grow. In the statement, the committee should, number one, provide details of the amount of pending bills owed by the county government of Kirinyaga to contractors and suppliers for goods delivered and services rendered at the end of the financial year 2023-2024, and state the period the unsettled pending bills have been outstanding. Number two, state any measures in place to ensure that the Kirinyaga County government settles all the pending bills as a matter of priority. And number three, explain the administrative, policy, and legal steps that the government and the relevant agencies have taken to ensure that the county governments do not accumulate pending bills in future. Signed by Senator James Kamau Murango, MP, Senator for Kirinyaga County. If you, Chair Agriculture Committee Emeritus, if you allow me, Honorable Speaker.
Please do. Go ahead.
I have a second statement. People are very excited, I don't know why. Yeah, we are very proud to be Tungatis. Request for statement on the disbursement and review of capitation to public primary and secondary schools. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the disbursement and review of capitation to public primary schools and secondary schools by the government, noting that the schools have reopened and are facing financial strain, having accrued debts from suppliers in anticipation of settlement of arrears owed to them by the national government. In the statement, the committee should, number one, provide details on the amount of capitations arrears owed to public primary and secondary schools for the 2024 academic year. Number two, indicate the timeline for the disbursement of the pending arrears for 2024 and for the first term allocation for the 2025 academic year. And number three, clarify whether the government has any plans to review the capitation per learner in both primary and secondary school, considering that the last review was conducted in 2017 and schools continue to face financial challenges due to inflation and prevailing economic conditions. This statement has been signed by Senator James Kamau Murango, MP, Senator for Kirinyaga County, Field Marshal in the Itungati movement.
Next is a statement from Senator Richard Onyonka. I understand you have sent Senator Ende Okech.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you. This is a request for statement on victimization of teachers at Poroko Friends School in Transmara West Sub-County, Narok County. And I'm reading it on behalf of Senator Onyonka, the great senator of the people of Kisii County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding claims of victimization. Mr. Speaker, there's a lot of noise from the other side, but regardless, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding claims of victimization based on tribe of teachers in Poroko Friends School in Transmara West Sub-County, Narok County. Mr. Speaker, before the 2024 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education, KCSE, examinations, it is alleged that teachers were asked to hang around and assist, and it reads, this is a quotation, engage in exam malpractice, candidates a request, it is said, many refused. The school principal is reportedly on record threatening dire consequences against those who refuse to cooperate. Out of the 47 TSC teachers in the school, approximately 30 were involved in the invigilation and supervision of KCSE in other centers, a fact that made them unavailable for any malpractice within the school. Most disturbingly, Mr. Speaker, in what would appear to be a case of ethnic discrimination and targeted victimization, the Teachers Service Commission, TSC, county and sub-county directors are claimed to have issued punitive transfers affecting only the teachers from a Bagusi community, with a total of 9 teachers having been issued with transfers and release letters from Transmara South, with rife indication that a total of about 20 teachers from the same targeted community might be transferred, whereas the teachers from the local community have not been affected by the said transfers. This points to unfair administrative actions, contrary to the provisions of Article 47(1) of the Constitution. In the statement, therefore, Mr. Speaker, the committee should examine the reasons for the mass transfer of teachers from the Bagusi community from Poroko Friends School and confirm whether those transfers were based on fair and justifiable grounds. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, in the statement, the committee should establish the state the circumstances under which the Kenya National Examination Council, NEC, barred 32 examiners from the school from participating in the national marking exercise and whether the decision is subject to revision. Further, Mr. Speaker, in the statement, the committee should verify whether investigations were carried out into the alleged intimidation, threats, and incitement against some teachers, and explain whether disciplinary action will be taken against anyone found to be culpable. Further, Mr. Speaker, in the statement, the committee should outline any measures the Ministry of Education is taking to ensure that the teachers' transfers are done in a manner that will not be adverse, discriminatory, punitive, or inhumane to those affected. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, in the statement, the committee should state the immediate steps being put in place by the Ministry of Education to ensure the safety of the teachers affected in order to foster a conducive teaching and learning environment at the school. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next is the statement by Senator Tabitha Karanja Keloche.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 52(1) to make a statement on a matter of general topics concern, namely the deterioration state of security and delivery of services to the residents of Nakuru County. Mr. Speaker, sir, Nakuru County residents have been left in a state of disbelief, shock, bereavement, and helplessness following 3 separate incidences that have happened over the last 1 month or so. In the first incident, a political activist, Mr. Richard Raymond, was brutally murdered on 18th January 2023, just a few meters from the Erbagon police station in Molo. On the same day, Mr. Brian Odhiambo mysteriously disappeared from a police custody, and to date, his whereabouts remain unknown. Mr. Speaker, sir, to illustrate how the situation in Nakuru County is moving from bad to worse, There is a case where a 7-month-old baby by the name Mercy Chepngeno, belonging to a deaf couple, was taken to the Nakuru Teaching and Referral Hospital following a short illness. The baby was admitted, but unfortunately died on 2nd February 2025, in the presence of her father, who was taking care of her. The body was moved to the hospital morgue on the Sunday evening. However, the father was denied access to the morgue by the attendant, yet he had wanted to witness where his late daughter was to be preserved. He then went home to inform his family of the demise of their lovely daughter, and they started burial preparation. A few days later, on 6th February 2025, they went back to the hospital morgue with clothes and a coffin to collect the body of their beloved daughter, who was to be laid to rest in Bomet County. Mr. Speaker, sir, after handing over the clothes and coffin, they were told to wait for 2 hours to allow the body preparation. 2 hours later, they were told the body was still frozen and the morgue attendant required for another 2 hours. They went back to the morgue after the expiry of the 2 hours, only to be informed that the body was missing. This is unbelievable. How could a body go missing from a morgue? What they complained, instead of addressing their concern, the morgue attendant threatened to spray them with formalin, the chemical used to preserve dead bodies. A scaffold ensued, and this is when it caught the attention of the medical superintendent in charge of the hospital. And he promised to conduct investigations to establish the whereabouts of the body. Sadly, almost 2 weeks later, the body is yet to be traced. Mr. Speaker, sir, these horrific occurrences sparked anger that resulted in demonstrations by several civil society and human rights organizations such as the Nakuru Organization for the Deaf Families and the Law Society of Kenya. But unfortunately, nothing seems to be happening. Mr. Speaker, sir, even before we came to terms with the missing body of 7-month-old baby, Mercy Chepngeno, another shocking incident of a young man from Nakuru Town West by the name Brian Odhiambo disappeared without a trace from police custody on 18th January 2025. To date, his whereabouts remain in mystery. These unfortunate incidences have left the families in anguish, pain, shock, helplessness, and in fear as they cry for justice. I was moved to tears when I saw the two bereaved families crying helplessly to a point of stripping their clothes due to the unbearable pain of losing their loved ones. I'll bring statements to the relevant committees for further actions to achieve justice for my people of Nakuru. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the opportunity to make this statement, and may God bless you all. Led by Senator Tabitha Kiroche. Thank you.
There is a statement by Senator Mohamed Chute. I saw him when we were starting, but I don't know where he disappeared to. So that statement is dropped. Next order. Okay. Honorable Senators, while using the powers bestowed to the Speaker or the Chair under 45.2, standing under 45.2, I reorganize the business under Senators. Under Senator Tabitha Kiroche. I now reorganize the business. So, under number 8, 9, 10, stands defunct. We go to now order number 11.
Order number 11, motion reconstitution of standing committees.
Majority Rinda.
Standing the resolutions of the Senate made on the 12th of February 2025 on the approval of senators to serve in the various standing committees of the Senate and pursuant to standing orders 197, 199, 228, and the fourth schedule to the standing orders, the Senate approves the following senators nominated by the Senate Business Committee to serve in the standing committees of the Senate as follows. Committee on Agriculture, A. Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofaya to replace Senator Alan Chesang. B. Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources, Senator Karen Nyamu to replace Senator Lelegwe Ltumbesi. And 2, Senator Alan Chesang to replace the late Senator William Cheptumo. C. Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunities and Regional Integration, Senator Joseph Kamau Githuku to replace Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofaya. And D. Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations, Senator Dr. Lelegwe Ltumbesi to replace Senator Karen Nyamu. Mr. Speaker, we only did this work last week, but since then there are 2 events that have led to this quick reorganization. One is a rather obvious one on the majority side, given that we lost one of our colleagues, and there are certain committees, Mr. Speaker, that members felt it will be unfair to leave them short of quorum as we think about what will happen in the future. Second, and most importantly, Mr. Speaker, having listened to some of the members on where they were placed, it became rather important to take into consideration their concerns and the need for them to serve where they felt their strength will be better utilized. So it's a fairly straightforward matter, Mr. Speaker, which I want to beg the House to grant the permission to proceed. I request Senator Professor Tom Ojienda to second. Say I second. Unalala.
Chair, Mr. Speaker, sir, I second the motion to replace members. I hope that is in the spirit of the desire to serve in those committees. I hope the President will be followed. Thank you.
Order, Senators. Senator Karen Nyamu. Honorable Senators, I propose the question that notwithstanding the resolution of the Senate made on 12th February 2025 on the approval of senators to serve in various standing committees of the Senate and pursuant to standing orders 197, 199, 228, and the fourth schedule to the standing orders, the Senate approves the following senators nominated by the Senate Business Committee to serve in standing committees of the Senate as follows. A. Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries. Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofaya, CBS MP, to replace Senator Alan Chesang, CBS MP. B. All the members. Senator Chalgei, I've been there in Parliament for some time, and when the Speaker is addressing the Senate, no senator should even try to even breathe heavily. B. Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources. 1. Senator Karen Nyamu, MP, to replace Senator Dr. Lelegwe Ltumbesi, CBS MP. And 2. Senator Alan Chesang, CBS MP, to replace the late Senator William Cheptumo, CBS MP. And C. Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity and Regional Integration. Senator Joseph Kamau Githuku, MP, to replace Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofaya, CBS MP. D. Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations. Senator Dr. Regwere Tubesi, CBS MP, to replace Senator Karen Nyamo, MP. The mood of the House? Yes. Okay. So I want to ascertain that this motion does not involve counties or concerned counties, and also I can confirm we have quorum. So, Honorable Senators, I put the question that, notwithstanding the resolution of the Senate made on 12th February 2025 on the approval of senators to serve in various standing committees of the Senate, and pursuant to standing orders 197, 199, 228, and the fourth schedule to the standing orders, the Senate approves the following senators nominated by the Senate Business Committee to serve in standing committees of the Senate as follows. Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries. Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofaya, CBS MP, to replace Senator Aran Chesang, CBS MP. Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources, Senator Kale Nyemo MP, to replace Senator Dr. Regwere Tubesi, CBS MP, and Senator Alan Chesang, CBS MP, to replace the late Senator William Cheptumo, CBS MP. And Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity and Regional Integration, Senator Joseph Kamau Githuku MP, to replace Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofaya, CBS MP. And the Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations, Senator Regwere Tubesi, CBS MP, to replace Senator Kale Nyamo MP. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 12.
Next order.
Motion, consideration of the Senate calendar, regular sessions for the fourth session.
Okay. Majority leader.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to move the following motion, which is a consideration of the Senate calendar, regular sessions for the fourth session. The Senate Majority Leader, that pursuant to Standing Order number 32-1, the Senate approves its calendar regular sessions for the fourth session, February to December 2024, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 19th February 2025. Earlier today, Mr. Speaker, I laid that particular calendar on our operations as a House and the time period within which we'll be in session and out of session during recess periods and all that follows. Mr. Speaker, this is an important exercise because there's a history to this. Previously, before the setting up of parliamentary calendar by none other than the gentleman who at that time served as my MP, then the Honorable Charles Keter, who came with the parliamentary calendar procedures. On a sudden afternoon, such as today, a speaker will rise and say, we are not meeting tomorrow, or a member will sponsor a motion. But then it was felt that it is important that you keep this tradition and procedure of determining way in advance which are the days that members will be sitting, on which days they'll be on recess. And it makes planning rather easy. So this is a fairly straightforward matter, Mr. Speaker, which I want to request the Senator for Migori, Senator Eddie Okech, to second. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, this is a pretty straightforward matter and a procedural motion and that I don't want to belabor because there is much greater things to discuss, including some senators haven't given some of their thoughts or opinions on what happened in the AU. I see Senator Lelegwe is very curious to be able to contribute on the AUC results. So therefore, I won't bore as much with discussing this. I second this motion so that we can move to the next. Thank you.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question that pursuant to Standing Order 32-1, the Senate approves the calendar regular sessions for the fourth session, February to December 2025, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 19th February 2025. I don't know whether the senators on my screen want to contribute to this. Is that the mood of this Honorable House? Okay. Honorable Senators, I put the question that pursuant to Standing Order 32.1, the Senate approves its calendar regular sessions for the 4th session, February to December 2025, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 19th February 2025. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Yes, proceed to your seat. Senators, I have a communication here to make on the visiting staff from the Office of the Leader of the Opposition Parliament of Uganda. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon of a visiting delegation of 5 staff from the Office of the Leader of Opposition of the Parliament of Uganda. The delegation is on a benchmarking visit in the Senate. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation, and on behalf of the Senate and my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. Thank you. Senator Boni Karwale. And 1 minute, please. No. Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for allowing me to welcome our visitors to this Senate with one important observation, that let it go on record that it is the wish of the Senate of Kenya that Dr. Besigye, who has long served in Uganda in the office of the Leader of the Opposition, be set free. And Mr. Speaker, I say these things with maximum respect, because when I was a small boy at the School of Medicine at the University of Nairobi, Mr. Speaker,
Order, Senators. Proceed, Senator Boni Karwale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
30 more seconds, finish.
Mr. Speaker, I say this with maximum respect because, Mr. Speaker, I recall when I was a small boy at the School of Medicine at the University of Nairobi, Dr. Besigye was a doctor at Nairobi Hospital. We drank from his extensive knowledge as a medical scientist, and Mr. Speaker, he has remained a friend. The last time I was with him was at the Sheraton's Hotel when he had visited Kenya. Mr. Speaker, we would like this staff to go back knowing that the values of East Africa, they guide all the patriotic sons of Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, and indeed the DRC. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sifuna Edwin. Just under 1 minute, kindly.
Honorable Speaker, as Senator of Nairobi, where we are seated today, I want to take opportunity on behalf of the House to welcome the delegation from Uganda, the leader of opposition's office. Honorable Speaker, I must say that as a leader of opposition in Kenya myself, it is very easy. It is very easy to be in the opposition in Kenya because we are protected by a very robust constitution for which many people died and ensured that we have the freedom to speak, freedom to associate, and freedom to exercise our own choices. Unfortunately for our friends in Uganda, some people in this country, in Kenya, are trying to drag us back to the dark days where we used to have dictatorship in Kenya. Honorable Speaker, it is something that is quite shameful and painful to me individually as a senator of the
All
County
senators,
of Nairobi.
we are welcoming distinguished visitors from our neighbor, Uganda. Senator Matinga, Senator Mofaya, Senator Chaligei.
Honorable Speaker, I was saying that it is something that causes me personal pain and embarrassment as a senator of Nairobi, that Dr. Kiza Besigye is facing the things that he's facing right now, including an illegal and unconstitutional court-martial, because he was abducted in my own city in Nairobi. It causes me great embarrassment as a Kenyan that we handed over Dr. Kiza Besigye, who's a personal friend of mine, Honorable Speaker, to the authorities in Uganda. And despite the fact that the Supreme Court of Uganda has said that that trial is unconstitutional and should be discontinued, the state in Uganda continues to refuse to disobey that court. So therefore, the delegation from Uganda, know that you have brothers in Kenya who will stand on guard to ensure that we free Dr. Kiza Besigye and we restore Kenya as a safe haven for all the people who believe in democracy in this country, in this world. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I welcome them. Let them feel free in Kenya, knowing that the constitution of our country guarantees freedoms for all. I thank you.
What is your point of information, Senator Chaligei? Who do you want to inform and is already seated? And it doesn't need your information.
Clarity. On point of clarity, Mr. Speaker, I raise understanding order 98 on a point of order and 101 on contents of speech. I needed clarity on our standing orders. And my professor of law is here. Is it in order for us to discuss an active case in another jurisdiction of Kiza Besigye that is being considered by High Court in Kampala, Mr. Speaker? Yet our standing orders are very clear that when a matter is active in court, it should not be conversed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I am not even finished. Mr. Speaker, in fact, you are the ones embarrassing the Senate by questioning sovereignty. You are, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker,
Senator Sifuna.
Mr. Speaker,
have your seat. Senator Chaligei, you know, sometimes you don't cause unnecessary drama in front of visitors. Honourable senators, honourable senators, Senator Chaligei. Senator Chaligei. Senator Chaligei. Honourable Senator Chaligei, I will not call your name another 2 times. Senator Chaligei, why misbehaving? Why? Honourable senators, I would like to acknowledge Senator Henry Okech. I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon visiting teachers and students from Kawongo Secondary School in Mwingi North Constituency, Kitui County. The delegation comprises of 4 teachers and 42 students who are in the Senate for a 1-day academic exposition. Honorable senators, In our history tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. Senator Wambua, welcome the students from Kitui County.
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Senators,
Mr.
Senators, let me give this last warning.
Please.
I said again, when the chair is on his feet, there is no parliament in the world where members open their mouth or even attempt to open their mouth. It is only in the Senate, especially today, when I'm reading very clear information for you, for your consumption, then you are busy talking and others hugging, others doing funny things. So this is the last warning that I'm giving you, honorable senators. We must instill discipline in the Senate. Otherwise, we look very irresponsible. Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to pick from your cue and welcome students and teachers from Kamawongo Secondary School in Mwingi North constituency, and tell them that this is where leaders in this country exchange ideas and build the nation. What they are witnessing now is just a small matter, but Mr. Speaker, I am very, very disappointed with my neighbor, my friend, my brother, Senator Gataya. Senator Gataya, you owe those children and their teachers an apology. Yes. Mr. Speaker, when you called me to invite and welcome the students, Senator Gataya spoke from his chair in Kiswahili and he said, "Wakona njaa sana." Mr. Speaker, as a Senate, we can never sing that low. It doesn't matter what the students and their teachers are going through. That is their case with their God. You cannot profile a community through an attack to students who have chosen to visit the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. Through you, Mr. Speaker, I would require an apology from Senator Gataya. Lastly, Mr. Speaker.
No, before you proceed, you know, that is not the behavior of the Senate. So, Senator Mwenda Gataya, if you have really uttered such ones, then you should honorably apologize. Give him the mic to convey that apology. If that is what you said.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. But my intention was not to hurt Senator Wambua or the children. My intention was to make sure that, we have a tradition. Whenever school visits, we normally give them sodas and mikates on behalf of... that was my intention, Chair. You know, Kamugongo is my neighboring school, but I am going to apologize if that is... it has been taken in bad faith, I apologize. But my intention was to make sure that we buy them sodas and mikates. This is my neighboring school. Yes.
No. Members, honorable members. Finish with Senator Wambua.
Mr. Speaker, I rise under Standing Order number 126, which says, Mr. Speaker, any senator may at any time, on a point of order, invite the Speaker or the chairperson of a committee to name another senator for gross disorderly conduct. Mr. Speaker, unlike many professionals in this country, I know how it feels for a young man to sleep with hunger
banks
Senator
because there's no
Boni
food
Karwale,
at home.
The standing
Mr.
order
Speaker,
you have quoted 126. Before you proceed, is action to be taken on refusal to withdraw. Senator Mwenda Katai has apologized.
Mr. Speaker,
If he was.
Mr. Speaker, if you allow me.
So now which is standing order?
Mr. Speaker, if you allow me. This
Matter has been closed. Please, Senator Wambua.
Speaker, let's close that matter. Senator Gataya has apologized. We take his apology, but will not accept assent.
Senator Wambua, now,
to
once
even buy
a member
anything for those children,
apologizes,
Mr. Speaker.
just don't open that matter again.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Kindly.
Mr. Speaker, so I welcome the students, and they should feel really at the place where they were going. The Senate of the Republic of Kenya, a Senate that debates issues, not personalities or conditions that people go through. The Speaker, secondly and lastly, as the leader of the opposition in the House, I join you and my colleagues to welcome the delegation from Uganda, and I stand in the same shoes that other colleagues have stood in. The Speaker, Kizza Besigye must be set free. He must be set free. So, Speaker, we have a motion that is coming up, which we began in the morning. The behavior of the national executive and its consequences to our international outlook. The fact that Kizza Besigye was abducted in Kenya and repatriated to Uganda, the Speaker, that speaks volumes about our foreign policy. Kizza Besigye must be set free. I thank you.
Next order.
Order number 13, motion, recording the thanks of the Senate on Kenya's attempt for the position of the chairperson of the African Union Commission, AUC. Resumption of debate.
Honorable Senators, there is no senator who was on the floor in the morning, so I want to check whether these senators on the screen, whether they want to contribute to the Senator Ososi Godfrey.
No, it should be Sifuna first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this very important motion. Mr. Speaker, let me start by thanking my party leader, Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, for the credible effort he put in the campaigns to become the African Union Commission chairperson. Mr. Speaker, as has been said by my colleagues before, Honorable Raila put in a lot of energy, a lot of attention, and a lot of effort in attempts to secure this position. And we know that Honorable Raila has a Pan-African spirit, and he has many friends across Africa. But the effort that he put in was not necessarily reflected in the results because there were many factors at play. There were national interests, regional interests, and continental interests, and to some extent international interests that came to play. But we thank God that Honorable Raila put in a very credible effort. And as has been said, he withdrew from the race just before they went to the 6th round. And those who have been saying that Raila Odinga does not accept defeat, you saw it for yourself. Raila put the interests of Africa first, because if he had gone to the 7th round, the implication was that the election of the AUC chair was going to be suspended for another 6 months, and therefore putting Africa at risk in terms of management of the African Union. So that was a great show of Pan-Africanism. That was a great show of a person who believes in democracy. And that has always been his stand. We also want to thank the country Kenya for the support that they extended to Honorable Raila Odinga in his campaign. And I want to state very clearly here that Honorable Raila was not persuaded by anyone to vie for the position of AUC chair. Madam Speaker, I had the privilege to accompany Honorable Raila in February 2023 at the height when we were agitating for a number of things, including high prices and all that. And I traveled with him to Abuja, Nigeria. And by then, the conversation had already started on the issue of African Union. So I want to make it very clear that it was not at the instigation of anyone. It was his own decision to vie, and because he belongs to the country Kenya, we want to thank the leadership of the country for agreeing to support him as a country. Mr. Speaker, Raila Odinga is the candidate that Africa needed at this point in time. A candidate or an AUC chair who was going to make huge contribution, especially on matters of infrastructure, which he has huge passion for, on matters of unity, on matters of empowerment of African youth who comprise over 50% of the population of Africa. Mr. Speaker, the elections have come and gone, and we know who won the election. Let us discuss, let us engage on the results, but we must engage with caution. I have seen people posting names of countries and how they voted. Madam Speaker, it's so difficult to know how countries voted because it is secret ballot. I don't know where they're getting that information. Because when you say so-and-so did not vote for us, it has a risk of getting us into a bigger diplomatic mess. So I want to request those who are telling us how countries voted to go slow on that, because we are going to even get deeper into diplomatic crisis. Madam Speaker, I know some people have been saying Frankfurt never voted. But Madam Speaker, if you look at other elections that happened before the election of AUC chair, we had the election of the permanent representative committees of the AU. If you look at these 4 slots of commissioners that were elected, they were all from the Anglophone countries. We had 2 people from West Africa, that is Nigeria and Ghana, and 2 people from Southern Africa, South Africa, and Eswatini. They are all Anglophone countries. So let's not speculate too much on who voted for who, because we don't have that information. Mr. Speaker, we have seen the reactions, and I want to castigate those members who said here that one of the reasons why we lost is because so many Kenyans went to Addis Ababa. Madam Speaker, I'm one of the people who went to Addis Ababa. I paid for myself. I paid for my flight, I paid for my accommodation, and I paid for everything. And I know many, many other people, especially from the ODM party. Some even traveled by bus through Moyale to go. And the reason why they went there is because of the love for Baba. It was because of love for Baba. So let no one start a narrative here that people are paid for. to go and witness the election of AUC. That is not true, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I know there are those who are celebrating. They have their own reasons to celebrate. And they have the freedom to make a decision on which way and celebrate on which way to go. But I just wish that Kenyans, we come together whenever we go on the international scene. Madam Speaker, there are countries which are divided, but whenever they go to the international scene, they come together. I can give you an example of Nigeria, which is historically divided between the north and the south. But when the national team of Nigeria, the Super Eagles, is playing, even Boko Haram stops fighting. The east, the north, and the south, they are all together. I think that's the culture that this country needs to adopt. I'm not saying those who are celebrating did a bad thing. They have their own right to do that. I know some of the people who are celebrating, they are actually Baba's supporters. Not all of them are anti-Baba. So they have a right to celebrate. But I just want to insist that whenever we go on the international scene, let us display patriotism and love for each other. Madam Speaker, let me now come to what people have been debating. And I want to speak as the ODM deputy party leader. That please, those who are speculating about our next move, please give us a break. ODM is a strong party with a strong leader. We are reflecting, and when we make a decision, it will not be because Cheregei has told us how to act. It will not be because some people on the streets are telling us how to, our next move. The decisions that the party makes are processed through the party organs of the party. So let people stop speculating to tell us, oh, now we are going to go this direction. ODM is not a village party. This is a serious party that has structures, and a party that makes decisions through consultation. Give us time, we are reflecting, but the most important and primary task we have as a party is to continue with the process of strengthening our party. And in the next few days, we are going to do that by having meetings in Western Kenya, Bungoma and Busia. So those who are speculating and saying, oh, Nadiko, oh, what? We have not reached that stage. Anyone who wants to talk to ODM knows where to start. You start by talking to Baba. And you start by engaging the structures of the party. You don't go on the street and start telling us, oh, now ODM, now we think the next thing you need to do is this and this. We are telling you, if you are sending those boys, Akina Cheregei and the others, tell them ODM is such a serious party that he knows what to do.
Honorable Senator, you know the parliamentary language when you are referring to your colleagues. Can you withdraw the reference of use of term boys to
Madam
describe
Speaker,
a senator?
Madam Speaker, I'm sorry for that. I withdraw.
Withdraw.
But I was just demonstrating a point. Madam Speaker, I was demonstrating a point.
What's your point of order, Senator Methu? Yes, proceed. Proceed, Senator Osotsi.
Madam Speaker, I would not have wanted to interrupt the Deputy Party Leader of ODM Party. I'm rising pursuant to Standing Order 105, responsibility for a statement of facts. Now that, Honourable Speaker, we want to follow the debate and we want to understand where the Deputy Party Leader of ODM is coming from, and he's a senior official in the party. May I ask that he expound so that for our own consumption and for our own knowledge, who are these people that he's referring that are sending boys to their party? I think it is fair that he expounds so that we are able to follow the conversation and follow the debate.
Senator Sotsi, can you elaborate?
You know, Senator
But without
Methu,
the reference of the word boys, because that name has been withdrawn.
I withdraw the word the boys. But, you know, Senator Methu is such a very intelligent leader. And you have been reading newspapers, you have been following social media, and you have heard people make statements in the media regarding what the next steps of ODM should be. I made reference to Senator Cheregei, who has even come out, even on the floor of this House, to even allocate positions to our party. In the morning, in his contribution, he said that they are going to allocate this kind of position in the party. That is why I was making reference to say that please, speculators and our competitors from either side, please give us a break. We know what we are doing. We knew that in this election there can only be two results, either a win or a loss. And we were prepared for that. So give us a break. We are an organized party. We are a big party. And the ODM does not implement its decision based on public hallucination or perception. We make concrete decisions that are for the betterment of our membership. And that is the position, Madam Speaker.
What is your point of order, Senator Boni?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Indeed, I heard the Senator for Nyandarua very well. Could the Chair please invite Senator Osotsi to respond to that point of order? His point of order was, who is sending the boys? That is the clarification we wanted. Once you tell us those boys, it doesn't matter whether you call them boys or what.
Boni,
but once you tell us, yes, sir, man.
We have restrained the use of unparliamentary language. The term boys
Okay.
is withdrawn.
So,
Don't use it again.
yeah. The point of order, Madam Speaker, was the identity of the person or people who are sending the people he called those names. Who is this force?
Proceed, Senator Osotsi. I believe it should take less than a minute to clarify that.
My time is being eaten into, but very clearly that what I was trying to imply, Madam Speaker, is that we are getting a lot of unsolicited advice from people who are not members of ODM party, telling us what to do next. We do not want that advice because we are a strong party that has structures and that has systems on how decisions are made. So let them give us a break. We are reflecting and we will make the right decision. And we went to this election knowing there are two results, a win or a loss. And we were prepared for both. So all this hallucination and perception should immediately stop. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support.
Thank you, Senator Osotsi. Senator Edwin Sifuna Watenya, Deputy Minority.
Honorable Speaker, it is an honor to go after my Deputy Party Leader has spoken on the position of the party. Honorable Speaker, I want first of all to echo the words that the Senator for Vihiga has said, that we as ODM are extremely proud of the campaign that was run by our party leader, the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. We are extremely proud, Honorable Speaker, because even some of us who are way younger than us were envious of his energy to put in all those hours of flights, to go to all those capitals, to go and speak to all of those people so that they can be able to support him. There is consensus across the country, Honorable Speaker, that there was nothing wrong with the candidate. We presented the best possible candidate Kenya could have. If you look at his stellar experience in public life, even on the continent as the AU infrastructure envoy for the past few years, Honorable Speaker, we had the best candidate we could put forward. Honorable Speaker, last year, I had opportunity to be a part of an observer mission, and it was the first time that I was undertaking such duties in my entire life. We were part of an observer mission for the elections in Somaliland. And that is when, Honorable Speaker, I came to realize that sometimes that the decisions that are taken in our internal borders or in the borders of one country, we think sometimes that they are entirely our decision. But I'm telling you, Honorable Speaker, I learned that many people, especially your neighbors, your geopolitical neighbors, have interest in what happens in your country. Honorable Speaker, when we were there, we realized that many of the countries around Somaliland had an interest. Addis Ababa had an interest in the election in Somaliland. The people of Djibouti were watching very keenly to see what happens in Somaliland, and of course Somalia itself, because they claim that Somaliland is part of the region of Somalia. Honorable Speaker, what that experience showed me is that I am totally blindsided as a legislator, as a leader in this country, when it comes to global geopolitics. It is no wonder, Honorable Speaker, I made a decision, conscious decision, to join the committee in this House that deals with foreign relations. Because for me, Honorable Speaker, I have always felt that the lack of clarity when it comes to Kenya's foreign policy positions is a problem for even some of us. Honorable Speaker, I will give you another anecdote before I say what I want to say. When I began my journey in politics, I tried my hand in a rural constituency called Kandui. And I remember, Honorable Speaker, we used to send representatives to funerals. For instance, because I used to operate out of Nairobi, I couldn't attend all functions. And I remember the advice of one old man, that the people you send who speak in your name, Madam Speaker, they are as important as you. Sometimes even more important than you. Because that face that they see determines whether they elect you or they don't. Honorable Speaker, I was told, you must do family background checks. I can see Khalwale looking at me. Honorable Speaker, if Khalwale sends somebody to represent him at a function in Malinya, and that person has questionable character, like for instance, he's a night runner, or he's a murderer, or he has bad manners generally, then the reputation of that person rubs on you as a candidate. I want to say very clearly that there is consensus that there was nothing wrong with our candidate. The problem, as I see it and as I understand it, is the bad manners of the Republic that he was fronted by. And I want to go through those bad manners, Honorable Speaker, because it is something that is worrying to us. Honorable Speaker, people make decisions based on how they feel about you, your relationship with them. And I believe the election of the AU was no different. We were all very perturbed when a few months ago, some leaders of a rebel movement were granted opportunity to speak from our shows here. And Honorable Speaker, this I want to draw the distinctions between what Raila Odinga believes in, the things that I know he believes in, and the positions that have been taken by our country that are diametrically opposed to the things that he believes in. Raila Odinga is a Democrat. He would never support the appending of power other than by means of democratic processes. He would never support a situation where you have people who are threatening peace and stability in a neighboring country, and then you grant them, a stage for them to be able to perpetuate this division in their own homes. So therefore, Honorable Speaker, you have this Pan-Africanist who believes in democracy, who believes in the democratically elected government in the DRC, and then you have your own country, the sponsoring country, allowing rebel movements to have a stage in our own republic to say things and undermine democratically elected governments back home. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, there are certain things that I actually believe, like global conflicts, that I admit that maybe I do not have the solution. But Honorable Speaker, when your country takes a position on that, you instantly make enemies and friends. And the clearest example to me is the conflict in the Middle East. This is one of the most complex global conflicts, Honorable Speaker. And many people have gotten to a place where we feel that even the proposed solutions that used to appear like they could work, as days go by and the events in the Middle East continue to unfold, we start to feel like maybe there is no solution to these problems. Honorable Raila Odinga is my party leader. I have had him publicly take a position to support the Palestinian people and say that they have a right to a home. Honorable Speaker, that is the position of the candidate. But what is the position of the sponsoring country? Honorable Speaker, when the sponsoring country takes up an opposite position to the candidate, then it presents a problem. So these conflicts between the position of the candidate and the position taken by government, I believe, contributed to the situation that we are right now. Honorable Speaker, of course, all of us know that once conflict erupted in the DRC, there are certain notions, especially from countries and players in that particular country, that Kenya's position was not a position that was advancing the security and peace of the DRC. Honorable Speaker, we have a very strong voting bloc, the Southern African Development Community. You know the position that they took at the AU. One of the biggest countries and most influential countries in that particular bloc is South Africa. South Africa lost 13 soldiers out of that eruption of violence in eastern DRC just a few weeks ago. The feeling that I have seen amongst many of these people is that that conflict and that emergence of violence was mishandled by the regions, and especially by Kenya. Honorable Speaker, the evidence is in the fact that when our head of state called for a regional summit to discuss that conflict, in fact, the DRC refused to attend. Honorable Speaker, these political decisions that we make here internally, Madam Speaker, they have global implications. The positions we take as a country have implications of how the rest of the country, the world views us and our standing in the community of nations. Honorable Speaker, most of us were shocked. Just a few days ago, I was sitting at KICC, and there was a red carpet rolled out, and there were very lovely ushers there. And I remember asking them, and they were all dressed in a shade of red, I think.
Point of information.
It's called...
Point of information. Point of information.
Would you wish to be informed by
It's
Senator?
going to mess my flow of
Senator
thoughts.
Eddy.
But let him inform you.
Senator Eddy, do not mess the flow of thought from the Honourable Senator's submission.
Madam Speaker, this is one of my favorite leaders in the minority side, so I wouldn't want to sometimes interfere with this point of information. But I think I've listened to him using the word position of country. Interchangeably. Leader is that there is no country's foreign policy decision and written to those effects of those insights that you have shared. So I just wanted to make that distinction that position of country is different from position of individuals.
Thank you, Honorable Eddy. I think I meant the position of the state or the Republic of Kenya as enunciated by the head of state, the Honorable Dr. William Samoei Ruto. And Honorable Speaker, when countries deal with you, the position is articulated by the head of state. I mean, if you tell the people of Djibouti to tell you what the position of Kenya is on an issue, they will most likely go with the position that has been enunciated by the head of state. Honorable Speaker, I was on the question of the presence of the RSF from the Sudan in Nairobi. Again, Honorable Speaker, the newspaper reports were that they were here to sign some pact that was going to put in place a new government in the Sudan. Why are we meddling in the situation in the Sudan when we know there are two warring factions? We used to play a role of mediator. When the president was President Moi, he was known for being a peacemaker. This country used to be known as a diplomatic hub where these global and regional problems were resolved. But it is no longer the case because we appear, at least the appearance of intermeddling with the internal affairs of our other countries and especially our neighbors is hurting our image. So, Honorable Speaker, after that vote was taken, I have seen a lot of submissions and people talking and saying, oh, there were Kenyans who are unpatriotic. But I want to remind Kenyans that we are a very divisive society. We have to come to accept. In fact, Honorable Speaker, as a political leader in this country, we have held the position that you must allow people to criticize you. You must allow people to insult you because, as you know, you are a lawyer like myself, Honorable Speaker. The High Court, our own High Court, has ruled that the freedom of expression extends to insults. That there is no requirement, and Senior Counsel is here, he can tell us, there is no constitutional imperative that when somebody speaks to you, they are nice to you. There is nothing like that. The protections or the limits to which the freedom of speech can reach are only the ones set out under the Constitution, and they don't extend to those things. So, Honorable Speaker, there is this debate about patriotism, and I've asked myself, what is this thing called patriotism? Honorable Speaker, we live in the city here, and in Nairobi we have one simple rule. If you love me, I will love you back. But if you do not show me love, there is no way you can expect commensurate affection from me. It is that simple. You love the people and the things that love you back. Honorable Speaker, when you speak to many of the young people, they feel that this country does not love them. From the day that you are born, Honorable Speaker, look at the situation in our maternities. Look at the situation in hospitals like Mama Lucy. The country, because of our failures to provide proper health care, is actively trying to kill you from the day that you are born. That is the situation we are born into. If you compare to other countries, Honorable Speaker, and we have traveled the country, the world, and we have seen, from the days that you are born, the way the country takes care of you, the sort of maternal health care that you are given, the sort of nutrition that you are given, you can see a country trying its best to make you survive, not a country actively coming after your life. Honorable Speaker, we go to places and we see education is free from primary school to the university. The country is actively trying to mold you into a proper citizen for the benefit of the country. It is very easy to love a country like that. But what is the situation in Nairobi? What is the situation in Kenya? Honorable Speaker, we have not done enough to make people feel like they belong to this country and that this country works for them. You cannot therefore fault people when they express anger against their own country. You cannot fault people. Patriotism, in fact, is defined not as loving your government, but loving your country. And when things are wrong, Honorable Speaker, we have a right to say that they are wrong. The politics of Kenya is very divisive. You know, people here pontificate as if the result had been different, Honorable Speaker. Can we honestly all guarantee that there would have been restraint on all of us, that we would not have over-celebrated to the annoyance of those who don't believe in our quest? Nobody can give you that guarantee. People are allowed to celebrate or to cry or to whatever, express themselves as much as they wanted. But I know Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga is the most insulted political leader in Kenya. Every single day you wake up, he's trending on Twitter, he's trending on Facebook, he's a headline in at least 3 newspapers per week. He doesn't appear to be faced by any of those things because he understands you have to have a thick skin as a political leader in this space. If you put yourself out in the public, you can expect people to be insulted. To insult you. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, there are people who want to use this so-called celebration in Nyeri. And when I watched that clip, Honorable Speaker, it was 2 Mama Mbogas at a market in Karatina. And when people speak about it, you can think the entire region of Mount Kenya. And in fact, the most annoying and saddest thing was attempts by leaders, some in very senior positions in parliament, trying to extrapolate and make it look like it is the people of a mountain celebrating Raila's loss. Honorable Speaker, these are the things that bring division in our country. As SG of ODM, I am aware that for the first time in the last election, Raila Odinga got over 1 million votes in the election. You cannot tell me that those million people who are in Mount Kenya can be dumped or lumped into those who do not support the politics of Raila Odinga. These are the things we must do. We must speak in a way that ensures we remain cohesive as a society and we don't marginalize anyone. Honorable Speaker, I want to conclude by speaking to the speculation. There's people who want to put words into Raila's mouth. Honorable Speaker, when Baba, Raila Odinga, wanted to run for the elections in 2022, he called a major rally, and I was present at that rally at Kasarani. He announced it himself that I would want to seek the presidency of the Republic of Kenya. When he wanted to run for this AUC position, Honorable Speaker, he himself called a press conference. I remember only seeing the former president of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, there at that press conference. He told us with his own mouth that this is what he wants to do. Honorable Speaker, therefore, when Baba wants something, he will tell us himself. These people who have abrogated themselves the role of speaking for Raila Odinga and telling him, oh, we will look for a space to accommodate you. Baba has many, many roles. He's a party leader of ODM. He's a leader of opposition. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a grandfather. He's not idle. Baba is not idle. He has things to do. So please, these people, I have seen even some colleagues from this Senate, coming up and proposing ridiculous things like amending a constitution just to look for a position for Raila. What do you mean? In fact, as the father of this constitution, it insults Raila greatly if you can stand up and say you are going to amend a constitution just to look for a seat for him. That is not what he fought for. That is not why he fought for this constitution, Honorable Speaker. And the leader of the country today is the one during the campaigns who told us that for a change, we must stop looking for positions for leaders. Let us start with the Mamamboga. Let us start with the Boda Boda person. Let us start with other people, because all this time we have been talking about leaders. I want to say without fear of contradiction that if Baba wants something, he will tell us himself. All these people running around and saying, oh, we will look for this, we will look for that. How do you know? He's not interested. Has he told you he's interested? And he has a mouth for himself. Do you know, Honorable Speaker, that despite me being the SG of ODM, I do not speak for Raila. He has his spokespersons. He has his spokesperson. I speak for organs of the party for which he is a member. But I cannot speak for Raila Odinga because he has his own mouth. He has his spokespersons. So please, we feel insulted as members of ODM when people run around looking for small seats here and saying, oh, we want to propose him for this, want to propose him for that. It is entirely disrespectful to Raila Odinga for you to run around claiming that you are looking for a position to accommodate him. He is not idle, as I say. Honorable Speaker, I want to conclude by saying we are extremely proud of Raila Amolo Odinga. Some of us chose not to be emotionally invested in this particular campaign because, Honorable Speaker, we have been through painful moments. Some of us, I had been elected for the first time in 2022 as Senator of Nairobi. I never got opportunity to celebrate that win because my party leader had lost the most important position that we were looking to get. Honorable Speaker, we were depressed. When you see us here, we might appear in public like we are rocks. We are not. These things have an effect on us as people. We want to be left alone. We want to be left alone, Honorable Speaker, and we want people to respect our father. We want people to respect Raila Odinga. Because every time you pick him up for your other charades like the ones that people are proposing here, when ultimately it doesn't work, it is the people who believe in him who bear the brunt of the pain. Those people are not there with us. In fact, these people proposing, some of these guys proposing things here, they are inwardly very happy and they want to drag Raila Odinga into another charade that is going nowhere. We want to tell the people of Kenya that it is only you are the ones with the power to determine the future of Baba Raila Amolo Odinga. Nobody has the right to tell anyone in this country to retire or to come out of politics. You are not the one who put him into politics. Allow Baba to make the decision himself. And Honorable Speaker, if you allow me, because my time is over, I want to read a quotation from Martin Luther King. This quotation hangs on the walls of Raila Odinga's office in Upper Hill. Honorable Senator Eddie, please, if you can hand me my phone so that I don't move from here. Because there are people who have been threatening us, Honorable Speaker, that when we say these things, they think, oh, you are going to be kicked out from where? From what position? These positions are not permanent, Honorable Speaker. These positions are here today and tomorrow they are gone.
Add the SG.
Please,
the
just
SG
to read this.
Senator, I'm adding him 1 minute to read out that quote.
Honorable Speaker, Raila Odinga has a very famous office at Capitol Hill in Nairobi. If you go into that office, there's a quotation from Martin Luther King that hangs on his wall. And it goes like this. You may be 38 years old as I happen to be. And one day, some great opportunity stands before you and calls you to stand up for some great principle, some great issue, some great cause. And you refuse to do it because you are afraid. You refuse to do it because you want to live longer. You are afraid that you will lose your job, or you are afraid that you will be criticized, or that you will lose your popularity, or you are afraid that somebody will stab you or shoot you or bomb your house. So you refuse to take the stand. Well, you may go on and live until you're 90, but you are just as dead at 38 as you would be at 90. And the cessation of breathing in your life is but the belated announcement of an earlier death of the spirit. Honorable Speaker, those people who have been wagging this AU thing on our faces and gagging us, that thing has now been taken. We are unshackled. We are going to speak. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Senator, thank you. You are fiery this afternoon as the SG of the ODM. Senator Professor Tom Odhiambo Ojienda.
Madam Speaker, contributing to this motion after Senator Sifuna and speaking to the very successful, I must say, for this country, bid by the Right Honorable Raila Odinga to secure the leadership of the African Union Commission, coming face to face with Madam Speaker, issues that the Secretary General of my party, ODM, has correctly enunciated this afternoon, that due to geopolitical questions that abound in the Gaza, the views of various structures, Madam Speaker, the conflict between Israel, of course, and Palestine, and all those questions, Madam Speaker, but also the geopolitical questions that in some way found their place, Madam Speaker, onto the table, onto the voting table, touching, Madam Speaker, on the conflict in the DRC that has been properly dealt with by the Secretary General Sifuna, Madam Speaker, led to several implications, Madam Speaker. For the first time, Madam Speaker, many Kenyans were learning that under the rules of the African Union, not 2 rounds, not 3, not 4, but 7 rounds are possible in an election. And we saw, Madam Speaker, that out of the 7 rounds, the first 2 rounds were successfully won by Baba, and he stepped out of the 6th round, going into the 7th. Madam Speaker, these rounds of elections speak to a number of questions, Madam Speaker. It is the democratic intention of the rules of election of the African Union to afford countries an opportunity, and leaders an opportunity, and candidates an opportunity to integrate and reintegrate Africa even during elections. And it is for that reason that it was only in the 7th round that Yusuf of Djibouti garnered the required 33 votes that are required under the rules to win an election for the AUC chairmanship. Madam Speaker, I speak not as one of those senators who have spoken to the need for thinking beyond the election. But I speak, Madam Speaker, on this podium as a senator who is concerned about the unity of this country. And that beyond the election, Madam Speaker, a framework, though I am not a party leader of ODM, though I'm not the Secretary General of ODM, a framework, of course, will eventually be found for the political party to settle onto a position. And I am sure that my political party, the ODM, is a political party that is built on structures and not on quicksand. A political party that is built on philosophical foundations, firm, and that are not only concerned about regional, but also has international concerns, that it is not a local party, as Deputy Party Leader Osotsi has put it correctly this afternoon. It is a party, Madam Speaker, that speaks to structures. It is a party that speaks to posterity. It is a party that considers not local, but regional, national, and other factors, Madam Speaker. And that is why Baba was presented for election to the AUC. I am sure, Madam Speaker, when Baba finally speaks, he will speak to ideals that unite this nation. Baba will speak to ideals that will temper some of those tempers out there. He will speak to ideals that will bring together the people of Nyeri, the people of Migori, the people of Kitale, and the people of Mandera. Baba will speak to ideals, Madam Speaker, that will ensure that this nation moving on is a nation that is united under His Excellency President William Ruto. It is to those ideals that we look forward. It is to those ideals that Senator Sifuna is speaking to this afternoon. It is to those ideals, Madam Speaker, that Senator Deputy Party Leader Osotsi has spoken to this afternoon. Madam Speaker, when Martin Luther King spoke of his dream of a nation where there would be equality amongst white children and black children, he meant it. It is that history that we are living today, that we also want to speak and see a nation, Madam Speaker, where all are treated equally, where all, Madam Speaker, are treated fairly. We want to see a nation, Madam Speaker, where all can be heard in support or in dissent, Madam Speaker, where all can live in peace and safety, Madam Speaker. I have a dream. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Professor. Senator Okoitaniro Mutata.
Madam Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to address this House on this very important motion of Kenya's place in the international order of nations, and especially on the African continent. Before I do that, I also take the opportunity to pass my condolences and to pray for our two members of parliament who recently left us and went to be with the Maker. I was held up yesterday in other official functions and I could not contribute to the motion when it was here. So I express my condolences and I pray that the Almighty God has mercy on them, receive them in eternal bliss, and continues guiding their families and giving them strength to cope in their absence. Having said that, and having listened to the debate that has gone on this afternoon, I don't have much to add on what happened in Addis. What happened in Addis happened. Many people have speculated why it happened without producing any concrete evidence, but we take it as that. The fact is that we did not get the seat through the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, but we rallied behind the flag, as it's required of anybody to be patriotic. We rallied behind the flag, and so it went. But behind being patriotic is also being accountable. We have had it said on this floor that the Right Honorable former Prime Minister visited 51 countries. It would be, and also we saw a motley crowd of Kenyans, a mixture of all manner of characters in Addis Ababa during the voting. Some even engaging in shamanical expressions of anticipations of victory. I would pray that in the interest of accountability and transparency, this House be informed how much money was spent on the campaign. Was it private money? Was it public money? And if it was public money, who authorized it? Was it in the budget of Parliament? Or was it in some mischievous arrangements between the Treasury and elements in the executive? Because it is this kind of escapades where there's no accountability that are used to steal money from Kenyans. So my interest is that the campaigns are over. We rallied behind the flag. But let us be informed how much money was taken out of the treasury, if at all, and what procedure was used to authorize that. Because I've checked the Appropriation Acts of Parliament, I've not found any provision for that campaign. And so I would want to know how much was spent on that campaign, and if Parliament was not involved, who authorized the Treasury to spend that money, if the money came from the public? The other issue that I would like to speak to, yes, please inform me.
Would you like to be informed by Senator Eddy?
If it's credible.
Proceed, Senator Eddy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think that the issue that the Senator of Busia is raising is a patent issue, and he has raised a dichotomous issue. One is the issue of the campaign, and the other is the issue of those who went to Addis Ababa. It will be remiss of me not to speak on one that does affect me directly, because I did travel to Addis Ababa, and I did interact with the people who traveled to Addis Ababa to be able to give support to our own. I want to inform the Senator of Busia on the issue of those who traveled. Majority of whom I interacted with, and I also traveled to give Raila Amolo Odinga support. We self-sponsored to go to Addis. And if you need the evidence to that effect, I am willing to table as many as possible of those people who believed that indeed supporting our own, just like we'll go to a rugby sevens in South Africa, or you will go to watch our sister Kipyegon run in a marathon, or you will go to watch Kipchoge in Olympic. Some of us were patriotic enough to believe that this matter was very important for the country, that we self-sponsored ourselves to get to Addis Ababa. That is an important information that I think that patriots like yourself should understand, that patriots like us did take that chance and did take that hint to be able to go and support Baba Raila Amolo Odinga in Ethiopia. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Eddy. You can proceed, Senator Oki.
Thanks for the unverified information. I would love to see you table that you have promised to table, to demonstrate to this House that people self-sponsored. In the absence of that, you hold your horses and forever keep quiet. Moving on,
Senator Okia, the Honorable Senator actually offered before being prompted that he could table the evidence. So it shouldn't be an area of contention. He can bring that evidence and table.
It's not an area of contention, but it's an attempt to sugarcoat a tablet. And that sugarcoating the one I'm guarding against.
Which you would conclude after he tables and you find it's sugar-coated. That's the only time you would
he needs to produce,
have rendered a fair judgment on the issue.
As well as Soyinka tells us that
Senator Eddy, you will be allowed to table that evidence that you paid your own ticket and you paid your own. Okay.
Thank you, my
Proceed.
brother. Having said that, money issues aside, a lot has been said about foreign policy. Where I stand, foreign policy basically means how attractive are you to others, or how threatening are you to others. If you have no nuclear weapons, you cannot be threatening in the modern world. So you must have something attractive. Therefore, to be attractive, it means that your domestic policy, your domestics are okay. So, for me, I think the problem we have is, in framing what you call a foreign policy, is on the domestic front. You cannot have a foreign policy worth talking of if the rule of law is disregarded. People who have got a different opinion are abducted. Foreigners who seek refuge here are kidnapped and repatriated. extradited, or whatever the word is, to their countries without due process. All those things, when you can't pay your schools, your universities, your hospitals, everything is in a mess. Your debts are unserviceable. You can't talk of a foreign policy when the home front is on fire. You can only talk of a foreign policy when and if the home front is proper. And so when you talk of the home front, we have got this thing of governance by merchant values. Some may call it deal making, but almost what you talk of the merchants of Venice in the plays of Shakespeare. Here we are, that today in Nairobi, we have the Janjaweed being allowed to open an office. This is a genocidal organ that tried to eliminate black people, and it killed millions of black people. It was not even religious, because the people in Darfur are largely Muslim, profess the Muslim faith, but they were killed because they were not Arabs by this group. It's a record, it's a matter of public notoriety, that the Janjaweed, which has now been given an office in Nairobi to operate from, has a history of trying to eliminate black people. What do we stand for as a country? Who has benefited from that process? Where is the due process leading to that particular decision? Article 10 of the Constitution is very clear. And it's very clear by stating that policy decisions, and that targets the executive, must be subjected to public participation. At the very least, a paper should have been tabled in Parliament on the issue of Kenya wishing to go to bed with the Janjaweed. Then you could debate it. Also surprising is that this thing has happened so soon after the Addis Ababa debacle. I call it a debacle because, looking at the evidence, such things don't happen overnight. There must have been negotiations and must have been interactions between this group and the regime running the Republic of Kenya. So, there must have been intelligence that Kenya cannot produce a chair of the AU who can be a neutral arbiter, because the government is in bed with factions that are responsible for undermining the rule of law and issues of governance on the continent. So I'm sure people knew. And we know some time back, His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto was proposed to be chair the negotiations over the Sudan. And we remember the government in Khartoum stating in very clear terms that it could not allow it because they perceived him to be biased. A few years later, you can see that their fears were not idle. Their fears have been proven by the presence of the Janjaweed here. We have seen matters happening in this country where even a group pronounced its opposition to the government of the Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, from Nairobi. So, what is Pan-African about that? When you look at the genocidal wars in the Congo, what's Pan-African about the Janjaweed being here? When we look at the genocide in Darfur, in the Sudan, Madam Speaker, I think we need to take a good look at ourselves as Kenyans in the mirror and ask ourselves, what is going on? I'm almost being persuaded that we are getting to a point whereby the Republic might need to invoke Article 144 of the Constitution. For those who care to do, you can check out what Article 144 of the Constitution provides. Because some things that are happening defy logic, defy any attempt at understanding them, and can only happen outside the sphere of a well-constructed syllogism. Madam Speaker, it's a very, very heavy heart that today I stand in this august house as a powerless legislator, a house that has totally failed to have any impact on the executive, a house that has got absolutely nothing to write home about its achievements. Absolutely nothing. Even if you gave them the back of a postage stamp and a felt pen, they would not feel it with any achievement you have had in terms of checking the executive. We don't understand the insignia on our own desks here. Deputy Minority Whip, Minority Whip, Minority Whip, and a Majority Leader, whatever, which is a clear statement that this House is not an extension of the executive. We'd be having a government side and an opposition side if the executive was given from this House. The executive in this country was directly elected by the people to be accountable to this House. The structure of the Constitution is such that the president must be lobbying and begging this House to allow him to do what he wants to do as a check. If it's appointments, they come to Parliament for clearance, be it in the National Assembly or here. If it's a budget, it comes to Parliament for approval. But things have been turned on their head. And today, it's MPs kneeling before the president instead of the other way around. So I'm totally ashamed and embarrassed that I belong to a parliament that is totally incapacitated for reasons that I don't know. Everything has been turned on its head. And as a result, the executive behaves like it's a law upon itself. That's why the Janjaweed can be given an office in Nairobi at the whims of an individual and claim that the people of Kenya have welcomed the Janjaweed to come and run their genocidal government from Nairobi. It's extremely sad. Madam Speaker, I plead with my fellow members of Parliament in the Senate and in the National Assembly, senators and assemblymen and women.
Senator Osotsi, you have an intervention? Have you pressed for intervention?
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt Senator Okio Mtata, But I think it's important for us to be told more about this janjaweed, because my little knowledge about janjaweed is that it's a terrorist group that operates in the Sahel region, Sudan, Chad, and Yemen. And Senator Omtata, whom I respect a lot, and I know he has a lot of information, he has said that they have opened an office in Kenya. So I think this is a serious matter that even me as a representative of the people, I would like to know more about that. Have these people opened an office in Kenya, and what action can we take as a representative of the people? Because this janjaweed, which translates to devils on a horseback, that is what it means in English, is a destructive group, is a terrorist group, which was even defined as a terrorist group by the United Nations. So if indeed they are in Kenya, and I don't want to doubt what Senator Omtata is saying, because he has always proven that whatever he says, he has researched very well. So I think I need to know more about that, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Senator Okia Omtata, you know, under the Standing Order 105, you have a responsibility for a statement, issuing statement of fact for everything you allege while you are debating. You can proceed to give information that supports what you have alleged.
Incidentally, Senator Soti, thank you for asking me to do the obvious. I always carry my laptop, and I've just clicked in the word search under warring factions in the Sudan. And what has come up, Sudanese, under the heading Sudanese Civil War 2023 to present on Wikipedia, that is HTTP.
Honorable Senator, are you presenting social media facts?
It's not a social media fact.
This
This is an internet resource. It's a Wikipedia, an internet resource. Yes, it's an authority, and I've referred to it. So the two opponent factions consist of the Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF, under Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, and its allies, collectively the Janjaweed Coalition, under the Janjaweed under Hemedit.
What is your point of order, Senator Eddy? Senator Boni, give Senator Eddy time to raise his point of order.
Madam Speaker, responsibility of fact 105. If you read that entire standing order, Madam Speaker, there is a standard of proving facts in this House. A Parliament of Kenya, the Senate of Kenya, want to depend on Wikipedia as a source that can be tabled in the House to prove fact, Madam Speaker. What are we doing? Who is the author of Wikipedia? Wikipedia is a source that anybody, just like social media, can go and post anything on Wikipedia. Are we going to depend on Wikipedia sources in this House, Senator Boni Aluale, the majority whip? Is this where the House of Representatives has reached, to depend on Wikipedia sources in the House? I think that the spirit of Standing Order number 105 is such that when there is any issue of fact that is raised in this House, then an honorable senator must then produce a reliable source that is available to all senators, but not social media facts and figures and Wikipedia sources that, Madam Speaker, have got voices from all over that you cannot be able to point to one person. So I request the honorable senator that, yes, there is a very serious issue that is bringing to the House, but let his source be credible, and let his source be something that we can all believe in and appreciate. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Okia.
I urge my brother, Senator from Migori, to dismount from his emaciated and starving high horse and understand that Wikipedia always has links to sources where the information comes from. But that as it may be, I would also like to bring in another authority. I was still producing authorities.
Okay, Senator Okia, it's your responsibility to give verified information whose authors may be known or the source is credible. So
yes.
I will now request you or guide you to give the author of the information you're giving or the source that you are giving from that Wikipedia.
Well, I'm here. I've left the Wikipedia alone. I'm here at https://www.cfr.org/global-conflict-struggle-sudan. By its heading of the document is called Civil War in the Sudan by the Center for Preventive Action, a highly recognized body.
Senator Okia, I appreciate what you're reading, but you're the only one in this house right now who has access to what you're reading.
My lady,
I am not able to see
lady,
the source.
We have got computerized systems here, and if people are not able to use them, I cannot be responsible.
I'm guiding you, sir.
I cannot be responsible for the ignorance of members.
Senator Okia, I'm giving you a guide.
Yes, Madam Speaker.
I want you to table that evidence in the normal procedural manner, which evidence is tabled in this house or statement of facts are verified in this house. If you're able to table it within the next short while, it's okay, table it. I can also have a look at it. And you can also table it.
My lady, yes.
I'm guiding you to make it easier because this is an important question. It's a serious question that cannot be trivialized. You are talking about Jajawidi. It's been named as a terrorist group. Can you table that evidence in the normal fashion so that senators can also get a copy of it? You can print it and table it. Senator Boni, would you like to be informed by Senator Boni?
Yes, all of them can inform me.
Yes, Madam Speaker, indeed, this is a very important issue. And we should not muscle the Senator of Busia without paying attention to what he's saying. Wikipedia is an encyclopedia which is referred to in Hawaiian language. In Hawaiian language, Madam Speaker, encyclopedia is referred to quick, fast speed. So to challenge its authenticity is to pretend that an encyclopedia is not an authoritative document. Secondly, Madam Speaker, Janjaweed is equally defined as a terrorist group in Sahel region, unless the senator of Migori is an ignorant man, and I know he is not. If you are uncomfortable with the truthfulness of Senator Omtata, then say it. Because he is not the first to mention the word Janjaweed in this country. It is in public domain. And in parliamentary palace, Madam Speaker, as I informed His Excellency Okia, matters that are in public domain are admissible. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Beyond the point, Senator Boni, beyond the point of information on the encyclopedia, I think the question was whether Jajawidi is set in Kenya, is located in Kenya. It's not denying if that was what Senator Eddie raised, whether Jajawidi is having official location in Kenya. Is your point? Would you like to be informed by Senator from Nandi? Okay. Senator Cherarige.
Madam Speaker, on a point of information, I want to inform that the issue of Janjaweed, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, started in 2003, and by 2013, the Janjaweed created an offshoot called Rapid Support Forces, RSF. So when you refer to RSF and Janjaweed, they are of same family but different species if you did biology. So people who did biology and brilliant like us who went to Kapsat Boys High School, who has produced 2 presidents, Moi and Ruto, then you are able to understand. So I think the issue should be, if RSF is in Nairobi, is it the same as Janjaweed is in Nairobi? That can be left to the jury to decide. I thank you.
What is your point of order, Senator Eddie? Is it on the same issue?
No, Madam Speaker, you know, when there is aspersions thrown to a member, it becomes a very important issue. And that is 101. I think the entire 101 applies to what the Senator of Kakamega has just thrown as aspersions on my character. Because, no, I haven't even said what I'm saying. Why are you guilty? Before I say what I want to say.
Under which standing order have you
101. 101, Madam Speaker, talks about, throwing aspersions on members. It talks also about what can be considered abusive or insulting language. Madam Speaker, if you read 101.3, you will find what the standing orders guides on this. Madam Speaker, there is what we call syntax in the language with which the Senator of Kakamega has implied that I'm ignorant on these issues. And the word ignorant, Madam Speaker, I find it insulting. That is one. Number 2, Madam Speaker, he has also implied that I am not comfortable with the truth that the Senator of Busia wanted to bring in the House and still bring in the House. Madam Speaker, I beg to make it clear that the Senator of Busia intimated that Janjaweed is based in Kenya, for which he went ahead to seek the source of Wikipedia to prove that. And all I wanted to know, because it's a very important issue of national security interest in our country, and we cannot let it go. All I want to know is that, is there a source that we can depend on that shows that Janjaweed is based in Kenya? Because if it is based in Kenya, we must take serious security matter on this. We cannot just let it pass. A senator cannot say that Janjaweed is based in Kenya and let it pass as a simple issue. So, Senator Boni, I hope that you get where I was coming from. I am not in any way refusing that Janjaweed has been a terrorist group that has terrorized the people of Sudan. That is true. That's factual, and that is in the public domain. But is it true that they're based in Kenya now? If that is true, we must deal with it. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Eddie, while you may be in order to raise a point of order, first, your first point was overtaken because Senator Boni was not on his feet when you raised that issue. So ideally, you should raise it. So that is overtaken, but I think you have done a good clarification on what you needed to know from the honorable senators as to whether Janjaweed has an office in Kenya. So Senator Okia, proceed to answer that question directly.
My time be expanded because...
Give him back his minutes that have been consumed by the points.
First of all, Senator Eddie is trying to take credit for what he didn't do. It is Senator Soti who wanted to know that clarification. Senator Eddy only contested the source I gave. So Senator Eddy cannot stand here and begin thumping his chest as a knowledgeable man who wanted to distinguish. You only challenged Wikipedia. You didn't understand what Wikipedia was, and Honorable Khalwala has helped you to understand what Wikipedia is, including telling you about its Hawaiian origins. Now, my lady, in terms of taking him to standing orders, I don't think that we are still in the age of brick and mortar as security. Today, we don't look for real wealth on the ground. We look for it in space. We have got these screens here. Are they decorations? We have got these iPads here that every senator has. Are they decorations? When I give a URL, a universal resource locator, for a document on the internet, I expect this House to have the capacity to access the document and not to be told that I should bring in paper which results in the destruction of trees. I'm bringing no paper into this House. I'm digital, I'm futuristic. My eyes are on the stars, not on the ground. Yes. In the age when the AI is coming in and we see talking of paper, brick and mortar, no way. I challenge the House to log into the URL I've given and display the information on the screens in this parliament. Now, here and now. And individual senators who cannot use their gadgets should ask for a refresher course to be taken for induction so that they can access the internet using the gadgets in this office. The taxpayers do not enable us in vain. They don't enable us in vain. So when I carry my document, my gadgets here, and I talk as a modern man in the 21st century, I am addressing modern people in the 21st century. None of the information I give is meant for Stone Age people. And if you belong to the Stone Age, you don't belong to where I belong. Are we together there? So, I want the matter to be settled there, Madam Speaker. I'm not presenting any papers here. I'm not printing any documents. I've given the URL. It's the duty of this House and individual member to access the information in the universal resource locator I've given. Madam Speaker, Senator, I sit. Thank you for the time.
Senator Okia, you still have a responsibility to indicate your source whether Jajawidi is in Kenya or not in Kenya. He has to answer that question. Senator Okia, don't avoid by the use of IT and paper and manual paper. Present that, please.
The problem of trying to fit a jet engine on a Volkswagen is what I'm dealing with. Yes, my information from, I would like to be informed, Madam Speaker, by the
Senator, I have first directed you what to do, to give the evidence and
but
to
you have
guide
refused.
whether Jajawid is.
Can you display the document I've referred to on the screen, then I'll point to it and walk people through it. Oh, that's what I'm requesting. Yes. I've given a universal resource locator for the information I've given in this House. Can you access the document?
Clerk, are you able to display that? Just hold. Wait a bit. Wait. Are you able to display that right away? Senator Okia, I direct you to go to the technical team, table the URL you quoted, the source of that website, and then it will be dealt with. It is your responsibility once again. It is not the responsibility of the clerk to table for you. You table the evidence with the clerk. Give the information. Give the details of what you need displayed.
Madam Speaker,
it is not at the table.
Your authority is limited to the confines of this building during debate. You cannot give me
But the
instructions.
clerk is here. Can you table it now, Senator Okia? I have directed you.
I can read it out.
Write it down for them. I have
They
given you the guide.
they are skilled in writing.
I have given you the guide. Senator Okia, you are bordering on being disorderly now because you are disobeying the chair.
Okay, Madam
Medu,
Speaker,
order.
if that's the attitude you are taking, I sit down, I cease my contribution until I get to a forum where I can be understood. Thank you.
Address. You are out of order, Senator Okia Omutata. Senator Eddy.
Is because
proceedings cannot go on like
Sorry?
that.
Madam Speaker, 105, the responsibility of statement of fact. Madam Speaker, I think you are letting. Madam Speaker, may I be protected from Senator Okia Omtata? Madam Speaker, I want Senator Okia Omtata to understand from point of order number 105 that nobody is disputing the importance of the issue that is raising. In fact, that issue is so important to all of us. It's very important to the country. But Senator Okia cannot say something that he cannot substantiate and run away from it. I think that is disorderly, Madam Speaker, because the source online, and nobody was requesting for a paper source, even the sources online are not all credible. Madam Speaker, that's the argument I've been making here. That if you say you've got a source online, it's not about whether people cannot be able to access online sources. It's about, can you rule, Madam Speaker, on what is the threshold of credible sources that must be given in this House, whether paperwhite or online? Because if the Rocky is going to run away from giving us sources because he knows that the source online is not credible, that's not fair to this House, Madam Speaker. And I think that we expect a ruling on that, because I would want to know, as a citizen of Migori, if Janjaweed is in this country and have an office in this country, then I must know how I protect my people in Migori County. Then I must know I participate in this House to make sure that our security is guaranteed, Madam Speaker. It cannot be said as a passing statement, as a political statement, and let to go like that, Madam Speaker. I request for your ruling on the credibility of sources, Madam Speaker, under 105, and number 2, whether Senator Okia Omtata is obliged to be able to provide that source online or in paper for us to follow. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
To who? Who are you informing? Cannot inform the Speaker. Before I rule on the point of order by Senator Eddy, I'll give Senator Kenywa an opportunity to raise his point of order. His point of clarification.
Madam Speaker, I was just concerned because Senator Okia Omtata is indicating the site or the source of his information. Why was it difficult because for him, whether the source is correct or not correct, it is up to the table and the Senate to rule on that matter. And he had given the site. Why were we getting concerned? We would have checked on it. If it is incorrect, he was supposed to have been told on the spot that the site is not admissible in the Senate.
Senator Kenywa, it is not in order for senators to conduct business in an unusual, difficult manner for the Secretariat or for the clerks. I actually directed and ruled that he proceeds to give the details of the website to the clerk's desk. That's his responsibility, under Standing Order 105. He did not comply with that ruling. In fact, he defied and walked out, which is out of order. Can you wait? I finish. Can you wait for the chair to finish dispensing on that issue? So he did not wait. He defied the ruling and walked out without giving the details. It is, my ruling is abiding on the point of order raised by Senator Eddy, and I'll give a direction on the matter. What is it, Senator Osotsi? You speak after Senator.
It's just a clarification on 105. I think this is a house of debate, and in this house the Constitution requires that we have freedom of speech. Madam Speaker, and I wish you give me just a minute to explain what I'm about to raise. The point of order 105, I have sat in this house for 2 years and several months, and I'm realizing that 105 standing order must be used to promote debate in this house. Madam Speaker, I think there is no crime in what Senator Omtata has said. We should be able to table evidence electronically. I am an IT expert and I know what it means. Madam Speaker, as I sit here, I raise a matter in this house about Moi University. And I was told to substantiate, which I did electronically, and I presented a document. Up to now, Madam Speaker, I have not heard from the chair about the status of my substantiation. To date, you remember it was last year before we went for break. I am still waiting for the House to tell me the status of my substantiation. So every time members raise issues, and members on the opposing side quote 105, and that's how we kill debate in this House. Senator Omtata has raised a very important issue, and I rose on a point of order to request that he be given time to explain the presence of Janjaweed in this country. And I believe he was doing so, but we did not give him time to exhaust his explanation. And electronic evidence is there in law, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, let us not allow 105 to be misused to curtail debate in this House.
Senator.
And for that matter, Madam Speaker, I am demanding communication on the matter of Moi University, which are substantiated in this House. And your chair has not communicated to this House on the validity of that information, Madam Speaker.
Senator Okia, the substantiation on the Moi University is an issue that can be handled and will be handled by the chair. It will be communicated, and I guide the clerk to ensure that an opportunity is offered for that evidence to be reviewed and a ruling to be made. But let me say this. Senator Okia was not denied an opportunity to actually present the online evidence. Soft evidence was acceptable. He was only verifying the website so that the clerks can open that evidence. So don't make it appear as though the House is not admitting electronic evidence. He was only supposed to walk here and present the address, and then senators have a right to follow what is being presented if it's online, or do they not have? Senator Methu.
Honorable Speaker, with tremendous respect to you as the chair, I think it would be a misrepresentation of facts, in my opinion, because the Hansard is actually here. For you to say that you directed Senator Omtata to come to the clerks so that he can present the evidence that he was referring to. When Senator Omtata was, actually, the last time he spoke here, he said that your powers are limited to these precincts of Parliament, because what I am made to understand and what Senator Omtata understood, you directed him to the technical team. You never directed him to the table. You never directed him to the clerks. Just allow me to finish, Speaker.
Please don't.
Because that is what you said. It is on record.
On that.
I mean, these are records that can be extracted, and we had you ready. Please listen to the other people. No problem. You can raise and oppose whatever you want to oppose, but listen to people. We have been listening to you the whole evening. But more importantly, Honorable Speaker, the honors of determining which evidence would be acceptable to this House is yours as the person who is presiding upon this House. So what was so difficult in you just opening that URL code that he was giving And then you can even determine the matter on a later date. You have not determined the matter on Senator Osotsi. And many other matters that senators have been asked to substantiate. You just take that website. I agree with Eddie, Senator Eddie. It may be an admissible website or not, but that is upon yourself to go and make that determination. But I actually feel, as you retire to give that communication, because you have said that you are giving that communication tomorrow, if indeed you give that communication with the thinking in your mind that you asked Senator Omtata to come to the table, I actually feel it would be very unfair to Senator Omtata.
Senator Methu, the answer will be reviewed because I directed him to walk to the clerk's desk, present to the technical team through the clerk's desk. I did direct that. I think that was clear. If it escaped you, it's there in the answer. Senator
You know, Madam Speaker, what has happened this afternoon is very important on how we will be conducting our business, especially those who are not analog, the likes of Omtata who have gone digital. And you know, Madam Speaker, we have a standing order 265 that is supposed to guide us. And you know, he has raised an important issue that he doesn't want to litter the floor with papers.
Senator Osotsi,
Madam Speaker,
Senator Mugeni, I believe as you raised that issue.
Yeah, the point I wanted to make, because it is incumbent upon the chair, maybe to give a considered ruling. Because the other day, you saw I was on the floor referring to a judgment and I was told table. What I did is I just took my phone and shared the document with Senator Cherage. So maybe going forward, what maybe could have happened for Senator Omtata is to be told, share the document with this email to the clerk. And then that should be, then it is displayed. And we are here as PSC to assist this House in conducting business in a very flawless manner. In fact, Madam Speaker, if you read, I think standing under 265(4), it says that a senator can share, who intends to display a document, shall share the document with the clerk for purposes of display. So I believe the moment our clerks here have received that reference, they should be able to display it for us, because we want to make people who have gone digital to have an easy time on the floor of the House. We shouldn't inhibit those who are migrating to the digital way of doing business. We make it facilitative. We should not inhibit. Madam Speaker.
Senator Omugeni, we hear you. You can now resume your seat. Your point is made. The fact of the matter is that Senator Omugeni has been given a chance to clarify the address so that not Senator Omugeni, Senator Omutata was given a chance to actually present the document. And if you read that standing order which you have quoted, it says the senator is entitled to share. That sharing is not the responsibility of the clerk to share. It is the senator to share to the clerk or to the table or to the House. Then it can be displayed for the use by every House. We do not want to open the wrong URL. And what Senator Omtata did, he walked out without clarifying what website he needed to be opened. He did not do that clarification. I will now give a direction or a ruling on the point of order that was raised by Senator Eddie regarding the direction that had been sought on the information that is required on the Jajawid. I will direct that Senator Omutata, though he's not in the House, he will still be required to table that information to the House because it's important. He was guided by the Speaker, and that ruling still needs to be abided by. Short of that, then it will be a defiance of the direction from the Speaker's set to provide it so that senators can follow the proceeding and see whether Jajawidi in Kenya or not. We can proceed on to the next. Senator Karungo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
I was standing to contribute on the issue or the motion on the floor.
Senator Dangwa, I thought you were raising an issue on this same, what was under discussion. Otherwise, the next person.
You can give me the opportunity because I'm standing, Madam Speaker. I want to contribute on the motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Proceed, proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I rise to give my comments on the motion at hand, I was asking myself why we are actually debating this motion. Because, Madam Speaker, I remember even when we were elected, we didn't have something like that. For those who failed it, for those who never made it, for those who made it, I don't see the reason why we are discussing that. But now that it is here, Madam Speaker, I want to commend the Right Honorable Raila Odinga for offering himself to run for the seat, the chairman of AUC, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, some of us have been accused, probably we celebrated, when he failed to capture the seat. But I want to tell you, we never celebrated because Right Honorable Raila Odinga did not get the seat. We celebrated because some of those who are fronting him failed, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, Madam Speaker, I agree, was best fitted for that seat. But just like 2022 elections, Madam Speaker, he lost because of those who fronted him, Madam Speaker. I wish Raila could have gone for this seat alone. I wish he could have campaigned. He has connection within Africa nations. He knows presidents. They know him. If he could have campaigned alone, without president behind him, with him all the time, I tell you, Madam Speaker, Raila could have gotten the seat. Madam Speaker, he lost the seat because of various reasons. And it's good for us to understand, because going forward, we might front another candidate. And it is very sad even to hear a CS, Madam Speaker, calling Kenyans and telling them those who celebrated Raila's downfall have small brains, Madam Speaker. It is quoted, a whole CS said Kenyans should not have celebrated because Kenya lost. I want to tell Kenyans that Kenya never lost. What Kenya lost was billions of money that was used against the budgeting processes, against any laws that we have, Madam Speaker. Kenya lost money. You know, and it's not only losing through campaign and the budgets that was used to campaign for Raila Odinga. We are losing in SHI, we are losing in SHA, we are losing in affordable housing. A whole CS cannot tell Kenyans that Kenya lost. Kenya has been losing as we speak today, Madam Speaker. And that's why we are standing here today to tell that the reason why Kenyans were happy is because you come back and help clear this mess. Because him and the president, they are part of the broad-based government. And you cannot run away. And we cannot also allow the president to use international community to try and cleanse domestic issues, Madam Speaker. So I think it was the prayers of Kenyans that they wanted Raila to come back and do what he does. Either he joins the government and they continue looting, or he speaks for the people, as he has been speaking for the people, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker.
What's your point of order, Senator Otsotsi?
Madam Speaker, I rise on standing order number 105. My good friend, Senator Karungo Dhangwa, has said that Honorable Raila and should join Honorable Ruto to loot the country. Madam Speaker is on record that Honorable Raila does not hold any position in this country. Can he substantiate and provide evidence before this House that Honorable Raila and Honorable Ruto have been involved in looting? Madam Speaker, I think we cannot allow these kind of things to go on. I know the narrative is trying to spread, but we in ODM are not going to allow our leader to be scandalized just because he stood for the position of AU and lost. Many other Kenyans would have done that, Madam Speaker, who are not necessarily in government.
Senator Karungo Dhangwa, when you make a serious allegation, it's your responsibility under Standing Order 105 to substantiate your claim or allegation. Can you proceed to substantiate?
Yes, Madam Speaker, you know Senator Osotsi, who is my former chair at CIPIC, is also holding a very big seat at ODM. And he is questioning that Raila Odinga is not holding any office in government. Yet his party has fronted some big CSs who are holding big ministries, like the budget, like the finance, treasury, Madam Speaker. Today, as we speak, we have been whipped, all the chairs, and especially from Mount Kenya. And they are going to ODM again, Madam Speaker. So, and when he stands here to ask me, they are now part of the broad-based, what I call the bread-based government, Madam Speaker. Because it is their time to eat. It is their time to eat. But they should do so, knowing that Kenyans are watching, Madam Speaker.
Senator Dhangwa, it is important you use the parliamentary language. When you say bread-based,
you can swallow without eating. You just swallow. Just swallow. Madam Speaker, let me finish. I am a man of few words, Madam Speaker.
Senator Osotsi, you have a point of order?
Again.
Yes, Madam Speaker, you know, I really did not want to keep on interrupting my friend Dhangwa. But you see, the point of order I raised was on the issue that Raila and Ruto are involved in looting. But he has not responded to that. He has only brought in the issue of broad-based, that some people are in government courtesy of ODM. Let him respond to the specific issue of the looting done by the two. That is the issue I wanted him to respond to.
Senator Karungo, you either substantiate or withdraw that.
Very quickly, I can do that, Madam Speaker. And this will come out clear once the statement that I have be given an opportunity on the floor of the House, because a lot of money was used, Madam Speaker. Kenyan government, even Raila himself, he's on record saying that Kenya and the president, the taxpayers' money was used to campaign for him, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that money was not budgeted for. We do not have a kitty to campaign for anybody who is running for any seat across the country, Madam Speaker. If that is not looting, I don't know what you would call that, Madam Speaker. So allow me to ask that question that was asked by the Juja MP, Madam Speaker, saying that they used a lot of money. And instead of substantiating, instead of saying we used this amount of money, they arrested him, Madam Speaker. And after arresting him, only to take him to court and produce a different charge sheet from what they had arrested him for, Madam Speaker. So you can see they are trying to hide. They don't want Kenyans to know how much money was used. So, Madam Speaker, that one will come out clear when I do that. But let me finish by saying that, Madam Speaker.
Senator Dhangwa, you need to table that. Do you have it here with you?
The statement?
Yes.
Yes, I do have the statement. I can send it on WhatsApp. Yes, I can do that. I don't know why, Madam Speaker, you are allowing us to have...
Madam Speaker.
One who raised that issue that you substantiate, so let him finish.
Madam
Speaker, satisfied with the answer.
Substantiation is not done by a way of a request for statement. It is done by way of evidence before the House. So he can have a statement seeking for information. But what we want is substantial evidence to be tabled in this House on how Raila and Ruto have been involved in looting. And Madam Speaker, this is a very substantive issue which you need to respond to.
Senator Karungo.
Maybe we can ask the Senator whether is Ruto looting.
Senator Dhangwa, you still have not substantiated that issue. Are you able to present the substantiation documents now, or do you need to bring them by tomorrow?
I'll bring them by tomorrow, Madam Speaker.
By tomorrow, when the House rises again tomorrow, you bring that evidence to substantiate on the looting.
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Can there be a point of order as I give the ruling? Let him proceed on his feet. You raise it when he's on his feet. Proceed, Senator Dangwa.
Madam Speaker,
What's your point of order, Senator Methu?
Madam Speaker, I also didn't want to interrupt, but I am standing, pursuant to Standing Order 97, and I think I would want to invite you to look at this standing order. I feel that most of us, just as the Deputy Party Leader of ODM actually mentioned, we are misusing Standing Order 105. The Senator has spoken on the same matter, with your permission, thrice. On the same matter of substantiation, he has spoken about it, on it thrice. Our standing orders actually says that nobody should speak on the same matter twice. So how do you keep allowing somebody to keep raising the same standing order, the same point of order on a matter that he has already raised? Why can't somebody consolidate their thoughts and raise them as one standing order or one point of order once? Otherwise, they will keep disrupting people when they are making their contributions. Madam Speaker.
Are you also disrupting by raising that point of order?
I'm not
But
disrupting,
the point
I'm just
is,
inviting you to read.
it was an
no
issue
senator
that
shall
was-
speak more than once to a question. So why are you
Senator,
lying? Okay.
Senator Methu, Senator Karungo was requested to substantiate, and this was a request from Senator Osotsi. And Senator Osotsi has to respond whether he's satisfied with the substantiation, and I've given a direction on that matter. No need to further push that matter. Karungo, Senator Karungo, will you bring in the substantiation tomorrow? Proceed, Senator Karungo.
thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think we should also look into that standing order of 105, because sometimes it can be used to suppress what the senators are thinking. And because we are the oversights, Madam Speaker, it is their work to substantiate, Madam Speaker. But nevertheless, as I was saying, Madam Speaker, Kenyans want to know how much money was used. How much? Because the Kenyan coffers, the public coffers, must have used a substantial amount of money to campaign for Raila Odinga. The question is, how much was used, Madam Speaker? I remember when Senator Migori was speaking. He said that he paid the air ticket to Addis Ababa. Madam Speaker, you were very lenient to him when he was told to substantiate. And he said, I can do that tomorrow or whatever time, Madam Speaker. And you know, and I know, members of parliament who have been accused of receiving bribes in toilet of 10,000 shillings, nobody, Madam Speaker, would cough millions, there are hundreds of thousands, Madam Speaker, to just go and celebrate. It must have come from the public coffers, Madam Speaker. And that's what we are asking. And that's what we are asking, Madam Speaker. We want to know how much. We want to know a breakdown. How much was used on tickets? How much was used in hotels? How much was used to induce others, Madam Speaker? So, you know, it has been said here, Madam Speaker, yes, we are parliament. We are a parliament. We are supposed to be honorable members, Madam Speaker. But some of the things that have been done here, sometimes we question ourselves whether we are that honorable the way we are pretending to be, Madam Speaker.
Senator Hamida, what's your point of order?
Madam Speaker, under point 105, I have my ticket, I have my hotel booking, and everyone does. So seriously, you are the one actually and Eddie has collected all evidence. In fact, that's what he's going to do. But then I feel strongly and pained to be told that I was paid for. Or people, it was the government money. We all paid for ourselves, Madam Speaker.
Senator Hamida, that's noted. Senator Eddie was directed by the Speaker to present evidence of those tickets, which I believe you present by tomorrow.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Proceed, Senator Dangwa.
And finally, Madam Speaker, now on a more important angle, Madam Speaker, as I was saying, we need to know why we lost, Madam Speaker. And we lost because of 4 things, Madam Speaker. One is the relationship between Kenya and other governments, Madam Speaker. We need to understand that we have to be as diplomatic as possible as a country when it comes to other countries' affairs, Madam Speaker. And I believe Kenya and other countries, and especially SADC, said, Madam Speaker, they could have supported us when the Madagascar candidate was eliminated, Madam Speaker. But they didn't. Why? Because, again, for point number 2, the Francophone support, Madam Speaker. Those countries that speak French, Madam Speaker, they went for their candidate. And on a lighter note, the 2 candidates that were running, that is Mohamed Ali Yusuf and Raila Odinga. Mohamed Ali Yusuf could speak English and French, and our candidate could speak English and German, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the last point, the internal issues in Kenya contributed to the downfall of Raila Odinga, Madam Speaker. The internal issues because other countries could not trust Kenya when it comes to fighting for human rights, Madam Speaker. Because of the abductions that are going on in this country, the killings that are going on in this country, and yet nobody is speaking about it. And the Right Honorable Raila Odinga spoke about it the last day of his campaigns when he was being prayed for in Bomas of Kenya. That is the only time he's had in public condemning abductions. I think probably he was told, you have to speak about it, Madam Speaker. So we lost because we could not be trusted to fight for other Africans, Madam Speaker. We have Kizza Besigye, the opposition leader in Uganda. The person who is supposed to represent Africa never even commented about that, Madam Speaker. So we lost because we pretended to be diplomatic. We pretended that we understand the problems of Africa. Yet it was a contest for somebody to prove, if I can get Africa, why not Kenya again, Madam Speaker? So Raila was used as a bait by the government. They never wanted him to win. And that's why they did what they did, Madam Speaker. And I'm so sorry, and I say pole to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, that you did not lose because of your person. You did not lose because you didn't have what it takes. You lost because of those who are fronting you, just like you lost in 2022 because of those who are fronting you then. So next time, choose the right people, those people who have the blessings of this country. But next time, I believe if he runs without them, he will make it. I don't know what, but he will make it. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Karungu Thangwa. Next is Senator Mogeni Eric Okongo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me a chance to also make my contribution. Mr. Speaker, just like many Kenyans, I was so deeply disappointed that Kenya lost the quest to take the chairmanship of the African Union. Mr. Speaker, we all know, Mr. Speaker, that Africa belongs to all the 6 or so regions, Mr. Speaker. And as a person who has lived, gone to school, represents a county in East Africa, it could only have been fair that a candidate from East Africa takes over as the next chair of the AU. Mr. Speaker, AU belongs to all the 55 nations of Africa. Therefore, we want to feel a sense of belonging, Mr. Speaker. It's like a father who has many children. All these children need to have a sense of belonging. They need to feel that they are part of a family. So that was a very painful loss, not only for Kenya, but for the regional bloc called East Africa. And Mr. Speaker, if I was a president, this is the time I would have asked my brothers in the East African bloc to walk the talk. Mr. Speaker, I was in State House when President Yoweri Museveni rose and assured us Kenyans that he will be in Addis Ababa to second Raila Amolo Odinga's candidature. But the reports that we received from Addis indicate that Yoweri Museveni did not take time personally to travel to Addis Ababa to not only vote for us, but to also help us in campaigning. Because, Mr. Speaker, it's not easy to convince another president to vote for you. You need to have as many presidents as possible to support your candidature. So I hope that our presidents from the East African bloc will consider whether we will change the idea of leadership within the AU so that it becomes rotational. How come, Mr. Speaker, that in the 23 years that AU has been in existence, the Francophone countries have taken the position of chair for 19 years, and Anglophone only 4 years, Mr. Speaker. And yet, Kenya and other Anglophone countries make their contribution to AU. So, at times, Mr. Speaker, just like the way we do it in IALA, Mr. Speaker, you're privileged to be a lawyer. You know it, that the presidency of the East African Law Society is rotational. If this year the chairmanship goes to Kenya, next year the chairmanship goes to Tanzania, the other year it will go to Uganda. That way, you don't feel the pain of contributing to a body that will never allow you to take a leadership position. We cannot have an association or a union that is supposed to bring all countries together, but others have ganged up to ensure that other regions can never ascend to the chairmanship. Mr. Speaker, because the salary that pays that chair is also my taxes. By being taxed and by my country making a contribution, then I'm also having an expectation that one day, one time, I will proudly stand up and say, a fellow countryman or woman is chairing AU. So, in terms of going forward, I hope when there is a summit of the African Union, our president, President William Ruto, will put this issue on the table so that we can have, let us have ECOWAS in West Africa, sharing. Next time, let it go to SADC, the way the other time we had South Africa. Then it can go to the COMESA region. Then it comes to East Africa. Senator Methu, we want fairness. The second point I want to make, Mr. Speaker, is that it's not Raila Odinga who lost this election. The person who lost this election is our president and his foreign policy, Mr. Speaker. Because the way we handled this matter, Mr. Speaker, it left us with very little option of winning, Mr. Speaker. Because when you are doing a campaign like this, you must be conscious of the geopolitics, what your actions will mean to the person you want to vote for you, Mr. Speaker. Because even if the way it is said, and I know it's true, that President Tshisekedi is a personal friend of Raila Amolo Odinga, how does he feel, Mr. Speaker, when, again, and I'm using my words very carefully, when it is rumored that somebody has hosted the M23 leadership in Nairobi? Tshisekedi is a human being, Mr. Speaker. He will bolt. How will Kagame feel if the actions of a country that is, fronting a candidate seems to be hostile to the interests of Rwanda or South Africa or Tanzania, Mr. Speaker? I want to appeal to my president, President William Ruto, to talk less, do his foreign policy at times under the carpet, to avoid stepping on so many presidents' toes, Mr. Speaker, because they are also human beings. Everything that you do here impacts on your relations with another country, either positively or negatively, Mr. Speaker. And I know the PS Foreign Affairs, Singhoe, is a colleague, is a lawyer like me. And I feel so proud, I feel honored when I see a lawyer occupying that position of secretary in the Foreign Affairs Ministry, Mr. Speaker. But I also want to speak to my friend Singohei to also be very cautious before speaking on a matter that may touch on our relations with other countries, Mr. Speaker. You remember, Mr. Speaker, SADC wrote a letter. P.S. Singohei responded with a public criticism. That did not go well with SADC countries, Mr. Speaker. So, really, the best thing they say is that you should learn from your failures. Let's learn from our failures. What happened to us as a country? We should sit down, evaluate, and take some key lessons from what happened, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on Saturday, and God Almighty is my witness, and my pastors in Nyamira are my witness, I told my pastors that instead of going to Addis Ababa, I'll be on my knees in Nyamira praying for Baba, Kenya's candidate, to win AU chairmanship in Addis. I was at Mesowa SDA in Ikonge with pastors, and we prayed for Raila Amolo Odinga, Mr. Speaker. Those who chose to accompany him to Addis Ababa, that was good. But how did we conduct ourselves? Mr. Speaker, if you have been a member of Law Society, and I know you have been, and you are a member in good standing, you know what happened when I was the president of Law Society of Kenya. We came up with a very good initiative to open the borders in East Africa so that lawyers in Tanzania can come and practice in Kenya, and lawyers in Kenya can go and practice in Uganda, and vice versa, Mr. Speaker. But when we were making that declaration in Speak Munyonyo Hotel in Uganda, the contingent from Kenya was the largest in that meeting. And they came there loaded, they had money, Mr. Speaker. So they painted Kampala. And you know, when the proposal was put on the table, the Ugandans were like, if this is the way these guys are behaving, even before we open the borders, if we open the borders, they'll take over Uganda. The Tanzanians said, if these guys are allowed to practice in Tanzania, they will take over. And Mr. Speaker, whereas we acted in good faith and opened the borders, we have Ugandans who are practicing in Kenya today, courtesy of that decision. But Uganda and Tanzania have never opened the borders for us because of the way we conducted ourselves. So, Mr. Speaker, at times, the cheering squad, the delegation that accompanied our candidate to Addis Ababa, Mr. Speaker, should have quietly given moral support to our candidate without loading it on the other countries, other presidents, because social media travels faster than even normal news, Mr. Speaker. So next time, let's learn. If it's not a football match, if it's a football match, you show you are mighty and you shout. But if it's something that is diplomatic, Mr. Speaker, let's be sensitive as to how we conduct ourselves. Because our conduct can irritate and annoy people who could have voted for us, Mr. Speaker. The third thing, Mr. Speaker, is our own domestic policy. Because we should speak about this matter very, very candidly, Mr. Speaker. At times, the way we run our domestic policy shapes the perception of our country, other countries about us, Mr. Speaker. So, what has been happening within our borders, we should also go back, look at the mirror, and ask ourselves, out there, how do other countries in Africa look at us as Kenya? How is our human rights record, Mr. Speaker? Have we created a country that has people who are happy. Because, Mr. Speaker, every year you get an index released on the happiest people in the world. Which country? I think currently it is, if I'm not wrong, it's Norway, followed by, I think, Australia and others. So we also need to know, have we created an happy population as a country? Mr. Speaker, when somebody was contributing on this floor here and mentioned SHA, Mr. Speaker, somebody from Nyamira sent me a note. He was given at a hospital called Christine Marian for a patient called Douglas Nyang'au, whom they were trying to admit this afternoon in that hospital. And Mr. Speaker, what he told me is that that hospital told them they don't accept patients to be admitted using that SHA card. That SHA should only be used in public hospitals. Yet, Mr. Speaker, we are priding ourselves as a country that has rolled out universal health coverage for everybody. You know? Another one, Mr. Speaker, sent me a message and said, Senator, remind the president that our people are dying because the SHA card is not being accepted in private hospitals, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a patient aged 94 years called Martha Nyamwange, I've just been told, was taken to a hospital called Medifort Hospital in Kisii. Mr. Speaker, that hospital, which had no sympathy on this senior citizen, 94-year-old, only accepted coverage on that SHA card on bed only. Then what happens to the medicine, to the surgeon, to the surgical expenses incurred in the hospital? And then we are telling people that SHA is working. It's not right. That's a lie, Mr. Speaker. So let us also look at our domestic issues. How are we treating our people, Mr. Speaker? This SHA thing is a problem, Mr. Speaker. In some counties, like Nyamira, now we are burying people on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We used to do burials only on Friday, Mr. Speaker. We represent our people, Mr. Speaker. We cannot sit here and shut our mouths from some of these issues, Mr. Speaker. And then finally, Mr. Speaker, the impact of Raila's loss in our country here. Mr. Speaker, we should guard our mouths at times. I listened to my good friend, Senator Cherage. It's unfortunate that he's not here, making statements saying, oh, now that Raila Amolo Odinga has lost the AU chairmanship, we want to offer him position of Prime Minister. Cherage or Nelson Koech, Mr. Speaker, are not the right people to tell ODM what position to be given. They are not the right people, Mr. Speaker. If the president wants to give former Prime Minister the position of Prime Minister, he should do it in a manner that respects the Constitution first. I sat in NADCO, Mr. Speaker, and we made a recommendation and even gave powers to that office of Prime Minister. If His Excellency the President wants Raila Amolo Odinga to get that position, the right thing to do is to fully implement that NADCO report, not to send junior senators like Senator Cherage to go and make announcements in the streets, Mr. Speaker. That is not the way you enhance unity in our country. If that position needs to be there, let it be entrenched in the Constitution. Let there be a discussion on who should occupy that seat through party organs, Mr. Speaker, but not through talk shows on TV, making pronouncements through the media. That is demeaning, Mr. Speaker. And it will send the wrong signals, Mr. Speaker, that there is no good faith from our president on this matter that was meant to take Raila to be the chair of AU. Finally, as I finish, Mr. Speaker, I join Ugandans, Mr. Speaker, in making an appeal to President Yoweri Museveni to ensure that Besigye is released from prison, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you read a book called Red Notice, you will think that the episodes captured in that book about the happenings in Russia under Putin are playing out in our neighboring country, Mr. Speaker. We want, within East Africa community, to respect human rights, Mr. Speaker, to show love, to show tolerance, Mr. Speaker, to our opponents, Mr. Speaker. So we urge our senior statesman in the region, President Yoweri Museveni, to have sympathy and a soft heart on that leader of opposition called Besigye. I hope the unfortunate thing will not happen, Mr. Speaker, where Besigye will die because he has not been able to get medical help under the watch of President Yoweri Museveni. With those remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Senior Counsel Okongo Mugeni. And as you resume your seat, I wish from the chair to remind you that the NADCO report was presented before the JLAC, which I chair, and we've done a report which is already part of the reports which will be processed in the course of this session. That is something that is already in the order paper for the coming week, I believe. And secondly, you made reference to the Principal Secretary of Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Singwei. You as truly remember once worked with him in the law of practice, and I can confirm that the accolades you gave to him are the accolades that he exhibited prior to his decision to, of course, resign as he assumed the current public office that he's holding. And so that is a proper presentation of a colleague's professional status. Senator Karen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The candidature of Right Honorable Raila Odinga presented the country with an opportunity to be at the helm of the leadership of AU. And the benefits of this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, are obvious, and they would have accrued to us as a country, regardless of whether you supported him or not, Mr. Speaker. I am convinced that Kenya presented the best candidate. His public profile, what he stands for in African integration and Pan-Africanism speaks for itself, Mr. Speaker, and to me, it is a missed opportunity for Africa. I want to congratulate Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and indeed, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto for a spirited campaign done across the country. No efforts were spared, no resources was spared. They met everybody, regardless of the stand or in the face of regional politics. They were not intimidated by the narrative. They met everyone that needed to be met. And for that show of togetherness, putting their political differences aside and going for this as a country, I must congratulate them, Mr. Speaker. Winning the first two rounds in the election, Mr. Speaker, is not a small achievement. Garnering 22 votes in the second round is not a small achievement in the face of regional politics that were at play, like I said. And for that, I want to congratulate Raila Odinga again. After the defeat, I happened to be one of the Kenyans who accompanied Raila Odinga to offer moral support. And after the defeat, Raila Odinga and the president gathered Kenyans who were there in a dinner, for a Thanksgiving dinner, And again, in a show of national solidarity, they thanked us. And that spirit of national solidarity is a big win for us as a country. And I want to urge the country that we should build on it in every aspect of our country so that we work together as one. That way it is easier even to disseminate development in every region, in every part of this country, when we are working together. And having said that, finally, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the AUC Chair, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, for his win. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Karen Nyamu. I'm seeing a request from Senator Nderitu Kinywa, who is presently not in the House, and therefore, honorable members, in the absence of any other member keen on contributing to this motion, I'll ask the Senate Majority Leader, who is the mover of the motion, to proceed to reply. Senator Aaron, proceed to reply.
Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to appreciate all the senators that have taken time to speak on this very important motion. Initially, when I conceptualized this idea, my desire was that we will take time to reflect as a country and positively evaluate what has been a fairly decent run by former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and a very good representation of the country at a global stage. However, Mr. Speaker, to my utter dismay, I have seen a few people try to reduce it to be a contest about what President Ruto got wrong, as if he was on trial, or as if he was the one that was running a campaign. You know, Mr. Speaker, being a politician, I have come to live with the reality that people will always see fault even when there's nothing to fault. And there are people who just for clickbait and likes on TikTok and Facebook, Mr. Speaker, will say anything, even on topics that they are least prepared about. I listen to many people ignorantly speak about the conflict in DRC and matters on the global stage with very little, limited, scant information, Mr. Speaker, about either the position of Kenya on such matters and how it may have affected voting. I said when I was moving this motion today in the morning, Mr. Speaker, that it will be completely ignorant of anyone to try and first draw a deduction of this run by Prime Minister Raila based on speculations about who may have voted for us or not, for the very simple reason that this was a voting by secret ballot. So by the time you're coming here to tell us, oh, you know, because of DRC, I don't know, because of Sarawi and this other one, we did not get vote from this. Where did you know that those countries voted for us or they didn't vote for us, Mr. Speaker? There are 22 countries that stood firm with Kenya and our candidate for all the 6 rounds, Mr. Speaker. There has been no scientific way of establishing which are those countries, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, you know, you get mesmerized sometimes at the ignorance and the seriousness with which people posit those arguments before the House, Mr. Speaker, thinking that perhaps there's some revelation that they got overnight on who may have cast their vote in support of us or otherwise. Even if it was a trial on our stand on diplomatic issues, Mr. Speaker, I explained here in the morning. The first person to raise that argument was Senator Onyonka. And you know, the record bears me witness. Every time I challenged him, whether it was on the issue of DRC or the issue of Palestine and Gaza, the war in Gaza, Mr. Speaker, he said, let's keep that matter aside. Because I was able to demonstrate to them that the positions they have been arguing in televisions and here in Parliament are nothing but display of pure ignorance. Mr. Speaker, our stand is known on all these things. So I don't know why people want to reduce it to be an evaluation of the performance of the president in the international stage. I don't think there has ever been a president who has profiled Kenya in the international stage the way President William Ruto has been able to do it. Travel with him to international meetings and you will appreciate what a good job he has been able to do. There is a lot of interest in this country. That's why I asked the other day, and somebody mentioned to me, told me, Senator, we don't understand your country anymore. Because reading online, reading newspapers, Mr. Speaker, listening to some of the senators, like the ones that were speaking here, Senator Sifuna and the like, you would think that there is absolutely nothing going on in this country. Yet, investors, people that keep a keen, objective eye on the progress that is being made in Kenya, are advising people, Mr. Speaker, that if there is a country to keep an eye on the African continent, it is Kenya, Mr. Speaker. Not one, not twice, not three times, Mr. Speaker. Have I seen articles by people who objectively analyze the performance of countries and the things that are being done, both locally and the positioning that has been done of this country, the international stage, Mr. Speaker, that they appreciate that there is progress being made. 2 years ago, Mr. Speaker, we were at a debt distress level. We were basically on the verge, staring at an total economic collapse, Mr. Speaker. The president has been able to move the country from that particular state up to a point now, Mr. Speaker, where we are stable, where we are going to the market, where even global ranking institutions are beginning to paint a positive outlook, Mr. Speaker, of our economy. And you just find people here say, oh, hey, this and that is not right. Mr. Speaker, in fact, it was a mistake. Even on the part, I want to fold the office of a speaker, Mr. Speaker, because in our standing orders, you cannot discuss the conduct of a friendly head of state without a substantive motion. It's in our standing orders, Mr. Speaker. Yet I have seen people discuss friendly nations and the local matters in that particular country, Mr. Speaker, with wanton recklessness. That should not be the case. Senator Cherargei tried, Mr. Speaker, to bring it to the attention of the Speaker when that matter first showed up this afternoon, when we had the visiting delegation from Uganda, Mr. Speaker. Unfortunately, maybe the way in which he sought the attention of the Speaker was not impressive enough, and the Speaker reserves the right of whether to allow one to make their point or not, but it is not proper. And many senators need to be acquiesced themselves with our standing orders, Mr. Speaker, that do not allow that kind of a behavior, Mr. Speaker. Even this issue that people are talking about of what happened today, that, oh, you are hosting rebels, this or the other. Kenya is a proud member of the international community. Many times, people rush here when their countries are in conflict, Mr. Speaker. The same people that are faulting us and saying, why did you allow Besigye to be picked and they are lifted from Nairobi, today have a problem that part of the faction that is warring in Sudan is here in the country. So which is which? If you want us to lock the country to anybody that is under siege in their own country, Mr. Speaker, then let that be your stand. But you cannot on one hand say that you need to keep this one here, but the other one you need to release. Kenya, over the years, has made significant contribution to regional stability, including almost every other East African country, Mr. Speaker, that every other time they've had conflict, people have negotiated here. I want to believe that part of negotiation, Mr. Speaker, includes allowing the warring parties, Mr. Speaker, to have access to your country. Who says if one of the entities has come and pitched tent here, Mr. Speaker, that we support whatever they are doing? We are a proud member of the international stage, Mr. Speaker, and I know for a fact that when people seek to either congregate here or find a safe haven if they feel unsafe in their country, there are millions of refugees that continue to ply their trade, Mr. Speaker, or make a living in this country as they go about their business. You remember even the issue of DRC a few months ago, where when DRC protested and said, why did you allow so-and-so to speak? Our answer was plain and simple. This is a free country. When people come here, they enjoy the rights. This is a country where you insult even the president and nobody does anything about you. So it will be very difficult for us to reserve and say only Kenyans are allowed certain rights and foreigners are not permitted of the same, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to request the colleagues that want to do an evaluation of Kenya's performance on the diplomatic stage to perhaps present a substantive motion, come before the Senate Standing Committee on Defense and Foreign Relations, Mr. Speaker, and raise the issue that they have. But to reduce such an important motion, you know, Mr. Speaker, where you find you want to score cheap points and appear as if you're the one who's most knowledgeable on these matters which you are ill-prepared to comment about, because the things that you're speaking for, if people who understand things better listen to you, they cringe in their seats because they are wondering who elected this one. Mr. Speaker, I want to plead with colleagues that there are matters, I said this in the morning when I was moving this motion, that there are things that should divide us. We can surely have difference of opinion when it comes to matters local politics. But when shall we ever grow and mature politically to appreciate that, for example, when a Kenyan shows up at the international stage, Mr. Speaker, then they represent our flag. They represent us as an entire people. If you're not a candidate in that particular exercise, competing with them, Mr. Speaker, then the least that you can do, look away if you don't like that particular person. At least at the very worst, Mr. Speaker, just keep quiet. But if you're a patriot, take time to celebrate them and lend their support, Mr. Speaker. But not to do the kind of things that we saw being done when the Prime Minister was making his run, touring African countries. There are people who posting pictures. When President said, oh, today I had dinner with former Prime Minister of Kenya, Raila Odinga, you go to the comment sections, Kenyans are even more than citizens of that particular country with their stupid tribal politics, Mr. Speaker, importing it all the way to the international stage. And then you find leaders here in this house trying to justify that, oh, yeah, let people express themselves. Express what? Ignorance. Mr. Speaker, leadership also involves telling people that this is not right, that we don't agree with you in this particular. Why are you a leader then? I thought a leader, part of your duty, is also to show the way in certain matters that you're well prepared for. Mr. Speaker, I want to appreciate those that understood the spirit of this motion and took their time to critically evaluate and celebrate that a Kenyan, a prominent one, an eminent one at that, Mr. Speaker, gave a good account of himself on the international stage, and now people know better about Kenya and our credentials. I did mention, Mr. Speaker, that it is okay for people to have their opinion. But you know, the most ignorant of the lot, Mr. Speaker, are the ones that have tried to reduce this conversation to be about the evaluation of President William Ruto. He was not a candidate there. Prime Minister Raila Odinga himself said it on that night on the 15th, that there is nothing that the government of Kenya led by President William Ruto stopped at or withheld in terms of support in his candidature. And he said, I appreciate that about this. So who else can come here and tell us, oh, you know, this was not done right, this should have been this way or the other? If the candidate himself appreciates that the country did everything that was humanly possible, and we only ended up losing because elections are what they are. Sometimes people choose not to see or appreciate issues the way you perceive them. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, let it go on record that this House appreciates the decent run, the good presentation at the international stage of this eminent Kenyan, that there are lessons that the country has learned, so that in future, because there will be other Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, who will show up at the international stage looking for employment opportunities, either in global institutions, Mr. Speaker, or even at the UN, Mr. Speaker. And there are things that we can surely do better as a country. I want to appreciate, Mr. Speaker, the seconder of this motion, Senator Moses Kajwang, because it is he who reminded us that with this negative energy, very soon we will transfer it even to matters like sports, things which ordinarily have always united us. That you'll find Harambee Stars playing, and because maybe there's a certain player that you don't like, or this or the other, Mr. Speaker, then you'll find people, you know, either cheering the other country or wishing ill fate on our own team. We must nip it at the bud while it is still early, Mr. Speaker, and be able to tell each other. You know, the other day, Mr. Speaker, we laid to rest celebrated veteran journalist Leonard Mambo Mbotela. It is on such matters that he will ask, Je, hu ni ungwana? Is this really decent of us, Mr. Speaker, to continue to do these kind of things? Therefore, I want to conclude, Mr. Speaker, by expressing the three things that this motion intended to do when we set it out this morning, which is, one, to express the thanks of the Senate to the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga, to appreciate that he gave a good account of this country, that this Senate notes that despite the fact that he may not have won, Mr. Speaker, that it was not because of anything in his own capacity, But given that this was a competition and there were other judges, Mr. Speaker, that they may have held different views. But as a country, we are proud of him and the work that he was able to do. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, is to record the thanks of this House to His Excellency the President William Ruto for stepping up, Mr. Speaker, and ensuring that a man whom they fiercely competed in the last presidential election and was separated on only by barely 200,000 votes, Mr. Speaker, enjoyed the support and the full backing of the government of Kenya with no restraint, Mr. Speaker. And that is what a decent country should do, because this is an important job. You know, Mr. Speaker, I'm reminded, I saw last weekend another member of parliament from the National Assembly. I don't want to take him seriously anyway. I think he's the MP for Juja or something. I don't want to take him seriously because I read elsewhere, I don't know if it is true, that the only document that gentleman has is a driver's license. Therefore, the kind of things you're saying about, I don't know how much was spent, is expected of such characters, Mr. Speaker. But the point is, Kenya should not have held back.
Leader of Majority,
yes.
I may as well remind you that the said member has since recorded a statement before the police and has been charged before court.
No, today he was charged for forgery, not for the misleading comments that he said about what Kenya did, I don't know, in the candidature. Apart from having a driver's license, probably, which is also maybe forged, Mr. Speaker, probably even the other documents, that is what the court will be told later on, that we record appreciation to the President for the kind of support that was accorded to Prime Minister Raila by the Republic of Kenya. Third and final, Mr. Speaker, is that the Senate of the Republic of Kenya record a congratulation to His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf on his election as the chairperson of the Commission, AUC Commission, on Saturday, 15th February 2025. We are true Democrats, Mr. Speaker, and even though we competed and it was intense and difficult, the winners eventually have their say. And therefore, because we are part of this African continent, Mr. Speaker, we will have to work with him. I pointed out earlier that, for example, the President is leading the reform exercise on the AU, Mr. Speaker. And part of the things that he'll have to achieve will include working with this gentleman. Much as we felt very bad that he grabbed the trophy that we so desperately needed, Mr. Speaker, we still congratulate and wish him well, because his success is the success of Africa. The success of Africa is the success of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, we should take such moments to celebrate them, much as we may disagree with him on many of the things. The only thing that perhaps maybe I will point out as a simple measure of courtesy, Mr. Speaker, is to be gracious even in victory, Mr. Speaker, because I saw a video. Probably maybe the people that did the translation may not be honest. I'm aware that we live in the information age and sometimes not everything is accurate. I saw a video of him somewhere back home in Djibouti alongside his president, and he said certain things that perhaps didn't sit well with the rest of us as a country. But who knows? It could be the wrong translation. Since I don't speak Arabic, Mr. Speaker, I don't want to bear witness, but I want to believe that that gentleman will serve the continent of Africa and celebrate and do all the things that we need to do. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I wish to end it at that and celebrate what has been achieved and said this afternoon. The various unhelpful comments notwithstanding, but many colleagues, 90% of the people that spoke actually stayed on tune. Apart from the usual, Mr. Speaker, that you'd expect in any political conversation, I still appreciate that many people rose to the occasion and appreciated what this motion was about. It was just about celebrating an eminent Kenyan, appreciating the president, and congratulating the eventual winner. The long and short of all these things that have been said this afternoon were about those three things, which I believe have been ably done by members of this House, using whatever form of shade and color that they have said. With those many comments, many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to reply. Finally, Mr. Speaker, in accordance with Standing Order number 66.3, I beg to request that the deferring of the question be held to a later date. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senate Majority Leader. And first one to Standing Order 66.3, the putting of the question to this motion is hereby deferred to the next sitting of the House. Very well. Clerk, you may call the next order. Now, honorable members, for the convenience of the House, order number 14, order number 15, order number 16, order number 17, order number 18, order number 19, order number 20, order number 21, and 22 are hereby deferred to the next sitting of the House. And with that, honorable members, we may rise. Honorable Senators, there being no other business on the order paper, the Senate stands adjourned until tomorrow, Thursday, 20th of February 2025 at 2:30 p.m.